And we're now we're officially live. Welcome to another episode of Dice Scum Live. Hail the Nightmare. This is Adam, and we're getting into the actual lore of Grand Cross.
And what a lore it is.
Oh boy.
Or what isn't there?
Yeah, Hardwired Ireland is the topic of today, and we're covering their equivalent of, would it be side 7 or side 3?
I'm not following.
Oh no. Only Biggie will get that joke. It's Gundam related. So, yeah, the place is Grand Cross. We're actually covering the space station proper, which means we get to mock the ever-living bejesus out of the fluff. Since, again, mechanically, it's mostly fine. I do think it's kind of weird and strange that you treat computer relationships like you would people. I think that's a little bit strange.
Oh, and for those who don't know, I am Imsit.
Ah, yes. Apologies for I'm a little rusty for the holidays. I still remember the day Grand Cross was done. Unofficially, I mean. The cylinder was pressurized, we had some gravity, we busted our tails to build the place so everyone got the day off to look around. The boys and I decided to do a little christening, pour one out for Tommy, so we spacewalked to the Black Cap and stepped inside, and there it was, the whole city spread out ahead of us. Quiet like it was waiting for something, and for the first hour we just took it in. That's when it really hit us. We did this, all of us together. Was it worth it? I thought so. Still do most days. Retired station worker. By the way, Grand Cross literally was finished construction, what, less than 10 years, I think? I think it was founded in 2012.
Yeah, and apparently people after it was created just decided, that's it, we're done.
I think the time frame is a little off. Maybe if this was 20 years ago, or 30 maybe, that might be more fair, but it's not making sense. The lore doesn't make sense. Grand Cross is the vanguard of the space push, an orbital metropolis housing millions of people from all over Earth. It might be in space, but that's not that different to cities back on Earth, even though it would have to actually be designed very differently, because space architecture is weird. So, fun fact, did you know that one of the earliest concepts for a lunar base is just to make a giant fucking bouncy castle?
Well, that would just be interesting.
Like, you're supposed to dig underground and build like a bunch of bouncy castle style air pocket things, essentially.
So, but it would be an underground city.
Kinda. Another example would be just to reuse old rocket parts, essentially the other stages of the rocket that don't decay into orbit. You just reclaim them and then just build stuff into it and then repressurize it.
That honestly seems most practical.
I think the earliest of space stations, that was the concept for them. I think Skylab might have been built that way. I don't quite remember. Its citizens are still regular people doing their best to live regular lives in a fast-paced, ever-changing world. Only with the chance of micrometeors smashing through the pressurized hull, killing everyone instantly.
And the apparent economic instability that will happen seems every day.
Oh, and if any of the heat radiators fail, you just start cooking to death. Don't forget that part. You think global warming's bad, and it is. But being on a space station when the heat sinks are failing, that's a fate worse than death. You're like the frog in the pot.
I mean, I'm just reminded of that Soviet pilot that he burnt up on re-entry.
Oh
We
no,
have all the
he slammed
yeah,
into
we have
the
the audio of
planet
that.
at orbital speed. By the way, the entire time he was still alive, he was screaming in rage and cursing at ground control
And
because
there's
he knew on some level that there were a couple of I think there was a couple of shortcuts made to make the deadline.
yes, something like that. I mean, I forget if he
I've seen
demanded them to
photos
see
of
his.
his open cask funeral. It was horrifying.
Well,
It was like essentially rubble. That was what
what
was left of
remains of
him.
it. Yeah, no, it's unrecognizable.
He looked
It,
like rubble. Oh
if
yeah,
you want to
orbital
history
debris.
yourself,
Yeah.
it will be a fascinating picture.
You drop a screw, 5 years later it smashes through the space station at orbital speed. at 1,000 miles an hour. Oh man. According to the station's website, the purpose of Grand Cross is to be a sustainable orbital habitat that acts as a gateway to the stars for greater humanity. Okay. It's to prove that people can live in space without dying instantly or whatever. We knew that since the fucking 50s, but okay. That's why we put chimps and dogs up there. It's both a proof of concept and a hub for future efforts. I guess Skylab, Mir, the International Space Station. I guess all of those don't fucking count. I guess the Apollo missions also don't fucking count. Neither does Mercury or the Soyuz missions. Grand Cross is a high-tech planned city. I doubt that strongly. Built to provide comfortable residential, commercial, and industrial space. Yep. Made to resemble the cities of Earth as much as possible, even though that would actually be less efficient, but okay. Can you envision using concrete in space?
I mean, I'm not that
An
versed
iron
on the
rebar?
science.
Just keep in mind that each pound that you take up with you, that's I think it's $1 million. It's about $1 million per pound or something like that. Oh yeah, Pagan Pilot. There's recordings, and from what I remember, it's mostly him screaming in insulting ground control because he knew what was wrong. That's the worst part. That cosmonaut knew that he wasn't coming back during the descent.
It's different from, and I saw this recently. No, it wasn't Challenger. What was the other U.S. Um,
It's one of the early Apollo missions. It's the one
no,
that
no, no, no. More recently, was
I
it
don't
Discovery?
I don't remember specifically NASA. I just know SpaceX has a bad habit of having their rockets explode. Which is funny since it's just repurposing 50s technology, claiming it's new, but whatever.
Columbia. That's what it was.
Oh, Columbia, yeah.
There's recording of it, not like actual blowing up, but their re-entry, and it's definitely different. They knew there might have been a problem, but they don't act like there is. It's still fascinating.
Well, it's kind of partially the difference because the US displays those usually on the news or, in feedback. Well, the Soviets, they only announced the successful missions. That was the thing with the Soviets. Knew they could censor it, so if something bad happened, they would just hide it.
So
Yeah, his remains were carbonized. It's pretty gross.
which I imagine within this game, they probably think that the Soviet version is what would have happened with this station. Because, capitalism, evil.
They did that with the L4 station in their bad lore. Like it was built by Evil Co, all the Evil Co that were built in space. I love how all the bad guy companies are in space somehow, and it massively failed. And there's a lot of refugees on this planned city.
Yeah, as they say in the reality section, it's like, um, rich and powerful still wield vast influence over society and use it to enrich themselves at the expense of others. The station's
Congratulations, you're
plans
pulling out a 200-plus-year-old fucking canard.
the, the
Congratulations.
station's plans were changed in 1,000 tiny ways that still ripple through society. The average person rarely enjoys all the benefits of the high-tech space life they were promised, and they sure as hell won't escape all of the problems of Earth.
Ah, yeah, gotta love the fact that my bones are rapidly decalcifying. Unless they somehow figured out a way to make it rotate at speeds that allow you to actually have gravity.
I'm pretty sure that's what
I
they'll
mean, that's
have.
kind of how O'Neill cylinders are supposed to work. They're supposed to spin
It,
really fast.
yeah, if you go on the next page, it is an O'Neill cylinder.
Well, yeah, that's because they stole from Gundam, because they stole from all the anime. They didn't think about any of this. They don't actually understand the principles of the sci-fi behind what they're doing. They're just looking at anime that actually studied the sci-fi that they're talking about. That's something you gotta keep in mind, that this is like from the point of view of a particularly clever starling or speaking bird. Yes, they understand the sounds have meaning, but they don't understand the meanings behind the sound all the time. Well, sometimes they do. Grand Cross was planned, but its future is in flux. The people in power have no real plan beyond maintaining the status quo, and events like the L4 disaster have thrown them into disarray. First
Then
generations of humans
change.
raised in space is lurching into adulthood. No, they're bloody not. Like, you literally said the station was built in 2012 and finished, I mean. That means the oldest generation, born in fucking space, aren't even in middle school yet. Because this takes place in 2020, you morons. That's not adulthood, unless this is them accidentally admitting something kind of weird, which
Well,
I'm
they
not
said
claiming.
raised. They said raised in space, not born in space. So presumably,
No, they're saying
somehow,
lurched into adulthood. That means that
I, I, I presume they had the corporations just have people take their children with them, so they grew up during the construction.
arguable. But I mean that is partially true. Oh yeah, do say raised in space, not born. Okay, that's fair. Technology has advanced in ways nobody could have predicted, and it won't stop for anybody. The project has proven that people can live in space, but still has a lot to achieve. It needs to prove people can live well. The design, basically, they stole from Gundam. This is them basically just cribbing from the notes from that hit anime. Yeah, I'm not really that impressed. It's literally just Gundam. They're just taking the details, used and primarily the constructions of the sides, even including the near-Earth asteroids that they farmed over. I'm not really impressed when they're just cribbing someone else's notes. I mean, I'll give them credit in that they're actually giving details on the structure of an O'Neill cylinder. They didn't have to do that, but they are.
That's probably good for their audience.
On the inside, the caps are landscaped into mountains. The crown is the axis of rotation, so gravity starts at 0 g, increases in Earth gravity as you head down the mountains to the station's urban landscape. Had two connected cylinders, blah, blah, blah. Pseudo-gravity made from inertial force. Yeah, basically the process of an O'Neill cylinder. Getting there, breaking orbit. Before the impact, rockets were the secret to space travel. In the distant future of 2020, it's still rockets, but they're better. How?
Uh, Spaceports, apparently.
Cheap, reusable launch systems. Oh, you mean what we basically used in the fucking 50s? That modern Earth shuttles can. Oh, they're saying space shuttles are reusable. Oh, you fucking liars. Yes, the vehicle itself is, but you know what they're attached to? Giant fucking rockets. That's not solving your problem. A rocket from Earth will usually take you to Spaceport 1. Okay, so they built the infrastructure in space, the equivalent of a spaceport. Basically, it uses what are called rocket tugs to assemble stuff together. And since it's up there, if you're mining from space, it doesn't take a lot of delta V, which is the calculation they use for rocket fuel. I know I'm getting kind of technical, but I'm just pointing out that if you're going to cheapen space travel, infrastructure like that's partially useful, but to get anything out of Earth, it's still going to cost the same amount of fucking rocket fuel. And space shuttles are just not that efficient. Ironically, rockets are slightly better for the bang for the buck, especially if you're not planning on coming back.
And then they do say they're making a space elevator next, which
Okay.
I mean makes sense.
Yeah, especially if they're going to invent the bullshit carbon nanotubes that would allow it to not essentially snap under strain, or due to gravitation, or due to air friction. Honestly, you could probably just use a skyhook, or some form of mass driver. I mean, then again, that's a giant fucking cannon that you can use as artillery, but whatever.
That still would be fun. You getting shot into space.
I'm just of the mind that the problem is if you're breaking orbit, you're still essentially paying for the same price. And shuttles are not that reusable. So you have to invent essentially an entirely new vehicle. Or you just have to embrace fuck it, we're just going to use the rockets and just have them drop into the fucking ocean. Also, where are the people getting this rocket fuel from? Well, it depends. Are they using aluminum drives? Because aluminum actually can be used as a rocket fuel source. Did they say fuck it and went with the nuclear rockets? Nuclear rockets are actually surprisingly efficient, although you probably don't want to use them into the orbit. You might want to. You can maybe use them in space, since I mean, what's the worst that'll happen? You slightly contaminate the cosmic belts. You know, the highly radioactive zones, the Van Allen belts. Like, oh no, it's more radioactive over there. But I don't necessarily think I don't know. I just think it's a little. The problem is you're still facing the same problem. Space elevators do solve that, but you have to have the material science needed to break that. Space migration. So, how do you personally get to orbit? Well, yeah, you either pay for it or you use the lottery system. Meanwhile, in
Every
Gundam, they just kicked up all the poor people so that the
wait,
rich
wait.
people.
When you're old enough to vote, you register for a national lottery. Every year or two, a handful of winners are chosen who, assuming they're alive and still interested, get a ticket to space for themselves. So
Wait, you have to
governments are not.
register?
So well, no. Weird thing. So there's just this lottery system.
Wait,
Governments don't care who they send up.
are, oh man, that's even
Up to
stupider than
five. Wait, get a ticket for themselves and up to 5 people. So
plus four.
it's like 30 people going up into space.
What type of fucking rockets are they
Why?
using to get up there? Do they
I'm
just
more
have to
thinking.
massive launch like a bunch of them at once?
I don't. I'm thinking. I'm just thinking more about the politics of it.
And,
Why?
and also the economy of it, because if you're just sending any bumbo, like let's say we somehow win the lottery, what do we bring to Grand Cross in retrospect? You know, in the colonial space where you need people to maintain the infrastructure and the services, because remember they can't really grow food up there. I mean, they got hydroponics to cut up the worst of it, but like with millions of people, that's a shitload of grain shipments you got to fly up there. Like there's entire like they have a schedule for everything just to make sure the International Space Station has enough rehydrated hot dog meat and like Neapolitan ice cream to survive up there. God for like when you get to millions, that gets so much worse. Are they growing moon wheat? Did they try to grow wheat in the radioactive, completely nutritionally dead dust of the moon? Or did they decide to go even more gigabrain and go to the nuclear desert of Mars to grow? Oh, a third way is to get work contracts. So you could just, the company can just shove your butt up there.
So servitude.
Yeah, corporate servitude. So if you work for a Mazeco, aka my Amazon with the teeth filed off, your wage cage could be up in space. And if the employer terminates the agreement early, they have to pay the employee and must have find them a new place to stay or pay to resettle them on Earth. Specific requirements of a work contract vary by country, but Grand Cross law sets out a few basic worker protections. And why should the companies give a shit? This is the
Operation Space.
problem. They made it independent, which it doesn't work that way. Because
Space
technically,
limits.
yeah, you have the independent sovereignty. Like, there's a reason why some companies that try to move to other countries get screwed. There's a fun story I remember where an American company tried to change how their labor pool worked after they bought a German company and got the shit slapped out of them by the German courts, losing millions because they tried to violate worker laws over there. So I get it, but on the other hand, how do they have the ability to be independent? See what I mean? Like it being
The
independent kind of
cartel. The
fucks
off-road
everything.
cartel. Just blame it on the corporations.
See what making it independent kind of makes this not work. Like what attractions besides space, which let's be honest, space is cool, but it never had enough interest traditionally to actually get people to pay for it. There's a reason why NASA's budget fucking collapsed in the 70s. I mean, yeah, it'd be reintroduced into the 90s, but after a point, there'd be fatigue, you know? Oh, I keep forgetting all these terrible notes. Let's see. People are particularly fond of Aspiration, the first shuttle to take U.S. settlers to orbit. After it was decommissioned, most of it ended up in the National Air and Space Museum, and one seat was purchased. Blah blah blah. Okay. Ha ha. Some billionaire dude bought a seat and turned it into a gaming chair. Okay. Not everyone who engages in filtering does it the same way. Sure, prejudiced parties can filter for undesirables, but are you keeping them from space or sending them to space? Most parties who filter the lottery can't even settle the question among themselves. So is this them complaining about Gundam literally shoving all the people they didn't like into space? Is that them crying about UC Gundam's plot?
They have a problem with that plot?
Well, I mean, they have to pretend they do.
I mean, no, I meant like politically.
Well, I mean, at the core of it, UC Gundam was the rich people shove the poor people off world so they can basically have the biggest luxury resort on planet. I'll keep saying having national interest would so much better besides just McCorp's bad. Yeah. Oh God, they have layouts.
I'll give an example of perhaps a different station. Adam, have you seen Babylon 5?
I have unfortunately never had a chance to watch Babylon 5.
First of all, do it. Second of all,
I mean, there's
it
not
is a
much on TV anyway, so.
multinational station. It was built by a coalition of different governments. Technically, it's owned by the Earth or it's run by an Earth organization, but it deals with those problems of having to get food, having to deal with trade, and the fact that it is essentially a giant space UN. Dealing with the politics, especially if the major parties disagree.
See, that would be smart if they had what the equivalent of like a Council of Eight and they just kind of had it under UN supervision, essentially.
It's, I mean, in that case, that's kind of it. It was the
No, I mean, if
human.
Grand Cross was that way, it would make a
Oh,
lot more sense.
but we'll get to the politics section, I think, right after the layout.
All right, let's take some more look. The way they describe how to get places sucks. I get why they're doing it, but it's just not. You're not going to grok it. You're not going to internally understand it on an instinctual level. You have to spin down a couple of blocks. No, we're not going to say that way. That's so stupid. You'd probably be like, turn left because, yes, you're in a three-dimensional space, but guess what? Because you're fucking spinning so damn fast and you have gravity, you can use directions like any normal fucking human could. We don't say spin on our globe planet, do we? So why would we use spin as a directional term in a fucking cylinder?
Because it's in space.
Ugh. So the divisions include von Harbo, Tezca, and Vern. Each panel is divided into 5 city-sized wards. Why are they using Japanese wards?
Oh, no, wards. That's used in other cities.
No, no, because remember these are weebs.
No, I
Y-
think ward is in English.
They are, but it's most commonly used in Japanese, particularly anime.
Yeah. Well, again, also urban. So
Also, another term would be borough.
that's
It's more for
division,
like New
maybe.
York, yeah. So there's 15 wards. Each ward is divided into at least 20 districts, each range in size from large towns to a few blocks. The wards were planned in advance, but not all districts were. So much for it being a planned city, I guess. The densest ward are on the edges of each panel closest to the end caps of their spaceports. Okay. They hold the most government build.
That kind of would make sense because
Yeah.
if you're near the spaceport, administration and commercial interests.
Also, just in case shit goes badly, it gives you a chance to escape.
Yeah.
The front end has the agricultural ring and busiest ports in practice. It's the densest side. The 3 wards and nearby blah blah blah. Wards were built. God. To keep things simple, buildings on the end caps are considered part of the nearest ward. I mean, they're trying to give details, and I have to applaud them for it, but this is dry. It's dry like tuna fish without mayonnaise. That you just chose to microwave because you're some type of monster.
And then public transportation, because of course, public transportation.
You're not
Uh,
going to probably use cars in space.
yeah, I know, but considering the political leanings of these people, I'm surprised that they didn't
Oh,
talk
do you
about.
think do you think they're part of the fuck cars movement?
Oh, I guarantee you. I mean, metro for shorter trips, rail for longer. Question is, what is? First of all, there's a subway network. Where? And
Also, wouldn't that be also? I get it. You want multiple layers of, say, rail transport because it's efficient. So there's 3 levels of train, and you can use metro and rail through transit stations.
what is a short trip and what's a long trip?
Who knows?
And I guess short trip would be within a panel or within a ward.
And rather than just leaving open areas where there's parks, they build buildings around them. They literally just they build an entire building just to call them indoor parks where you just sit and talk with people.
So like a library without books.
So a waste of space.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, as they say, with homeless becoming a problem, put the homeless in there.
Yeah. And also homelessness on the right. Maybe stop importing people with the lottery. This is the thing that makes no fucking sense in space, you know?
Yeah. Miguel, quote Babylon 5. There was areas of poverty, despite this being a space station where they do control the migration.
Like, yeah,
There were
there's
still
going to
poor people
be,
there.
yeah, but they have to at least accomplish something in space, you know? Why don't the colonial marshals just kick them back down to Earth or something, you know?
Well, I mean,
Look, I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm just pointing out that you're on a place that has a limited budget for food and a limited budget for space. This would be like being this would be the equivalent of being the stowaway on a boat. Like, yeah, there might be a population of them, but it wouldn't be that big. And if it
yeah,
becomes a big enough problem, they'd have to be kicked out.
I don't know if they have a discussion about it later, but I would presume that they would have brought up a commentary of migration and cruelties of people coming to the station illegally and having to deport them.
Yeah, you think they'd go into that? Because this is just something I'm thinking just from the fact that you're on a fucking space station with limited area, limited supplies, limited air. Air's a resource on this thing, by the way. Keep that in mind. I don't know. Oh, and apparently they didn't even finish the descriptions.
Oh yeah, they haven't named every ward and district, and we don't plan to. That's probably because Grand Cross at least 300 districts, but because we prefer to leave it open to your group.
So what you're saying is they just kind of arbitrarily politically divided the place up and want to pull an ADF?
I mean, I
ADF
look at that.
ADF is a dude who
Yeah,
did a lot of maps, and he had a bad habit of just putting smaller and smaller like political divisions in his little made up country.
I look at this and I think about with Warhammer where they don't have everything explained. Either they say, you know, records were lost in time, or there's just uncountable numbers of armies of whatever faction. I'd say that's a better excuse than just saying we don't plan to name them. It's just at least there's a justification instead of we could,
But
but
we
we're
don't
not
want to.
going to.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, why
They,
even have this? What's the
yeah,
point?
th-
If
they
they
could have
didn't have this, we wouldn't have known about it.
they could have said this, you know,
They didn't have to say
despite
shit. Just not
well,
have that.
they could have said this, despite all these official names that say they have alphanumeric codes. A lot of local communities decide to make their own name,
By the
and
way,
then
we have a bot in the chat. No, thank you. Do I hide user? I'm not smart. And go into timeout now.
I want to find my love.
And report because this is just spam.
But like something that's like
So long, bot.
within within the setting, because they did say they wanted you to have a community that you work with, that you help cherish. So just say that the local community names it, and your local community can do so as well.
Yeah, especially since it's not entirely an. You could also go. The place isn't completely settled yet, so there's kind of Wild West areas. That would also explain the homelessness if it wasn't completely populated yet. Like, let's say this place was built to hold 3 million people, right? And it only has, I don't know, a million. That's a lot of open space for squatters to hide, especially if it's all near the ports. Like, if you go further away, you could actually get away with it, maybe. Oh no, they're going into roads and vehicles, amazing parts that we.
Traffic
Everyone
is
is interesting.
left-handed. Traffic is left-handed, like in England, which would imply that
Almost
this
no
was
one
built by the
fucking
English.
almost no one fucking uses that system though. Last I
Why?
checked, how many people? I think it's only like maybe a couple dozen that use the English system, right?
Actually, let me check.
I don't want
I
to be.
looked this up.
If I'm wrong, it's fine, but I could have swore the English method of driving is not that common.
Um, formerly drives on the left. Um, every single English colony besides, well, suffice it to say, most of Southeast Africa, um, Japan, India, Australia, New Zealand. I think that's Suriname. Uh, just yeah, every place the British were.
And Japan as well for some reason. Well, I know why, because Japan was actually aided by the British quite a bit during the 19th to 20th century. They were allies at one point.
Interesting. I'm
Still
just looking at Brazil drove on the left.
drove, but they don't now, do they?
I know. Yeah, no, it's just weird that they decided.
I think it's just Anglophilia.
Yeah.
Or weeabooism. It could be weeabooism. You got to keep that in mind.
Also, apparently the United States did as well. Yeah.
That's weird, but like majority of people don't drive that way. And even if you use the UN building Grand Cross and letting it go independent, that's what, like 2 or 3 out of the 8 that drive that way?
I mean, now if you're talking Security Council, that would just be the one.
Yeah, then there's no point. Like, yeah, they can hold a veto, but why would you drag your feet on making it go to the. I know I'm nitpicking. It's just, if you're going to be so asinine to describe the actual fucking traffic patterns, I'm going to be asinine right back. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
It just stands out.
That they put this much detail in how the flow of traffic works rather than just
Oh
the
no,
means
no.
of
I mean,
transportation.
I mean that's fine. It's the to me it was just like left-handed. There's something there that could tell us about the culture and the history of this station. Then it's just there because Porky.
I think it's here entirely because they're obsessed with roads and transportation, like, that Fomer element. Which, like, to give you an idea, most books don't put a ton of detail into the intricacies of traffic. They'll cover city layout, like Waterdeep has a very extensive map, and Berlin by Night actually covers all of the structure of Berlin and areas to go. They don't cover for several pages the wards and how transportation works. I mean, they kind of do, but not like this.
Hey.
Hey, we're talking about roadside transportation in this future book.
What page?
105. Hey, Randall. Roads and
How?
vehicles. Roads are mostly for
cool.
filling gaps in the public system.
What? No, they're for transporting shit, idiot. What kind
Like,
of fucking retard don't know what a road's for?
the same people that built 3 layers of railroad. There's the subway, there's the crossrail, and then there's the Grand Metro.
Wait, a subway
also-
wait, how's it a subway if there's no ground?
I know.
Yeah, why do you need 3 different layers of train transportation?
Public transportation, good.
I mean, I
Because
get
Reddit
it.
says so.
No, I mean, I get it for
like
both.
I get it, but it's still I'm still gonna nitpick and make fun of it.
Like, they should have just said they have a very elaborate metro system because it's for goods, services, and people. There's the commuter services, and then there's the transportation services. The goods. Maybe have one be above ground and the other one not. And by above ground, I mean above the false veneer. Traffic makes sense in a game meant to be mostly about auto combat or something. Yep, Coyote. But no, roads are just for filling gaps in the public system.
It's like this one infamous phrase in Ready Player One: "The roads were there with trucks on them, transporting goods and workers," or something like that.
Oh,
Just
God.
this like an alien trying to describe human civilization.
Oh man. Well, there's the arterial roads are wide roads with big sidewalks. Reminder: these O'Neill cylinders have only a certain amount of space. With large sidewalks that run between wards and districts across window panels and on elevated highways. The rest are either community roads, narrow shared streets with smaller sidewalks, or pedestrians, where most vehicles are prohibited.
Traffic is left hand like in England. Why?
Especially since it's multinational, so the
Actually, I
left-handed method of driving wouldn't fucking work.
I guess didn't they say that the Africans funded a lot of this?
No, even then, West Africa uses the French method, which is right-handed. So no, it's full of shit. Completely full of shit.
They're Britaboos. They're Britaboos.
Weeaboos too. Japanese drive on the left, I think, as well.
And I'm gonna be honest, if any part of Africa was gonna do space travel, it's not West. They still have to have countries. Because most of them are just screwed by the French.
Isn't Nigeria like collapsing right now?
Nigeria is the fault of the British, though.
No,
true.
Nigeria's fine. You're thinking of
It's-
Niger.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
of them are not in great shape, but Nigeria is getting better, surprisingly.
Nigeria's better, but
It's
Really?
getting better,
Oh.
surprisingly.
basically, if they speak French, there's
Yeah.
only going to be a handful of countries that are going to be good.
Did the French ever truly decolonize, or are they still?
No,
Yeah, I thought
well, they
not.
depending on the country. The only one, well, I mean, Haiti. Haiti's the only one that's decolonized. And the only one that they've incorporated was Guyana, which technically is a part of the European Union.
Okay, roll with it.
So yeah, so it technically a part of South America is a part of Europe.
A walking path
See,
isn't a road, it's a path or trail. I agree, Coyote.
That smells like I'm just gonna say that smells like a Monroe Doctrine violation to me. We gotta kick those fucking Euros out of Guyana.
Most people use bicycles, scooters, and sometimes motorcycles if they have a vehicle at all. Then why waste all the money building those big fucking arterial roads? What's the fucking point? Larger vehicles like cars are typically reserved for public transport, emergency services, the laws, taxis, accessibility, and business needs. As such, rich kids see an inconveniently large car as a mark of status.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm getting this.
Fuck your fuck cars mentality.
Yeah, this was written by a Reddit mom.
And also one who doesn't know what the point of roads are.
And also somebody who doesn't know what a card is for Metro Pass. If you look on the multi-pass,
Oh,
they say
God.
it's a contactless smart card to handle transit fares, but they become a valid payment at convenience stores, fast food joints, public libraries, vending machines, and so on.
Idiots.
They're even used for access control for office buildings and schools. So
No.
what the hell is this? This is not a transit card. This is both a credit card,
And an ID.
ID card. I don't know what else. It's a gun permit, probably.
It is the ID card that basically monitors you to the evil corporate government machine. All I do know is that the reason we have the pass system is so that you don't have to, stop the car on a highway to throw fucking quarters into a thing. That's its purpose, but I guess they don't get that. Also, the beautiful thing about railroads? Imagine when one of those subways have a malfunction and block up the entire line.
Yeah.
There's a reason roads still used, even in glorious Europe. Garian Aerospace. Until recently, the station's public transport network was wholly operated by a station-owned company. In the last year, about a third of it, including most of the Crossrail, was sold to another company. They've tried to make everything run on their software with emphasis on tried. You can tell which parts are theirs because trains are often late and the workers are just as confused as you are.
Because we all know that state-run agencies are incredibly efficient.
I mean, when it comes to infrastructure, it's one of the few times I usually give it to the state.
Yeah, fair
Like
enough.
we've seen what I think despite the fuck cars movement, really, especially that one guy who's like trying to really ride off of it, who's a big fan of Amsterdam. I think theirs isn't private, and like the Dutch actually have some pretty bad train problems. Or am I thinking of the Swiss? I just know that there's like an example of that. Wait, T-Boo, is the traffic based on stereotypical Indian city traffic? Probably.
Oh God. Oh, that explains a lot then.
The United States put oil and jobs in space initiative has been wildly unsuccessful. What the fuck?
Because we
Oh.
gotta whine about America.
Oh, I didn't. All vehicles are electric because there's no petrol in space. Don't use petrol. You're not British. You absolute melon. You absolute Melvin. You goblin.
Who the fuck wants to emulate the British? I mean, my God, how fucking pathetic do you have to be as a person to want to emulate those fucking royalty worshipping, keys guzzling, crooked teeth subhumans? Fuck the
Bloody hell.
British.
Fucking
The only
hell.
thing I'd say to emulate is their fiction.
I'm glad the Queen's dead.
Fucking hell. All I do know is that, you know what I would have said instead of not using petrol? I would have said combustion engines are banned in a place with high oxygen in an enclosed space.
Duh! Dude,
Also,
the
that's your
smart
air
way
supply.
to die.
That's your fucking air supply. You can't fix that easily. That's all you gotta say, but no, they had to be a smug anti-American cunt.
What the fuck is, and even what the fuck is put oil and jobs in space? Were they trying to like do like a what is of those shit space elevator, like a space elevator version of an oil pipeline?
I think maybe
I-
considering they're probably trying to go for conservative parity, they thought let's mine oil on the moon.
I wouldn't be surprised. Although, if you're gonna do it correctly, it should be let's mine methane on Titan.
No. They find Mars had life, but then that life died and it became oil. So there's oil on Mars.
You know what's cursed? That actually might be a very minimal possibility. There probably wouldn't be a lot of it though, if at all.
Yeah.
But there might be trace amounts of oil on Mars or in Europa, which would be funnier. Oh man, this book is so good. It had a brain aneurysm for a second. There we go.
We're about to go.
Politics.
To go to
Oh,
my bread and butter.
Oh fuck.
Parliamentary democracy modeled in the Westminster system. So
First
again,
past the
British.
post garbage where they collude with each other in the same fucking greasy, grubby fucking group.
It's saying its system is a result of years of efforts by political science and researchers. So not by people who are actually.
Westminster's like one of the oldest and least efficient fucking systems out there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then here's what they come up with their Grand Assembly.
What
281
type of crack are you smoking?
281 members from the public, representing a specific district, although there are adjustments for populations.
You know, oh, here's something retarded. They're allegedly based in Westminster, but they use the fucking American government system.
Yeah.
And a Senate council.
Pathetic.
Which
they just changed the numbers slightly too.
So I do.
I hate
6
that.
for each ward. Why would you have 6 senators? How big is a ward supposed to be?
They're supposed to be. Oh shit! I thought there was only 30. What?
And no, 90. And also, if their vote on bills passed by the House.
No, I mean I thought there were 30 wards. Like, am I smoking crack? Let me look, because I could have swore there weren't that many wards.
15.
15 ward. Okay.
20 at least 20 districts.
Why 6 senators though?
Because what? There's like 3 million people. You could have 2. You could just have 2.
Yeah, and it would give you, what is it, 30.
And
or if you want to prevent tie breaking, give them 3 so you have 45.
And who are they supposed to represent then? Because is the interest of the ward?
Okay, let's get into this. So first off, they have the Westminster system, which, by the way, multi-party democracies, you've seen the British system. It's still a 2-party system, effectively. It's just there's a few districts that don't. Westminster doesn't fucking stop that because of how the first past the post system fucking works. Like, to give you an idea, you can win 20% of the vote and still only return, what, 30 guys into the entire parliament? Out of, like, 500? That's how first past the post works. It allows occasionally, but not enough. It's also the result of effort by blah, blah, blah. Fuck politicians, even though we probably are the beneficiaries of those politics. Conservative politicians are worried they wouldn't win if everyone's vote counted. Go fuck yourself. Backer nation.
Even though they don't explain what, I don't think they explain what the voting system is. Oh wait, no, they do later.
Oh god. I like how they're putting all this effort into the system when I've read Berlin by Night and it's a terrible book, but they cover the city of Berlin quite well. They actually do.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Assembly, yeah. House of Representatives, elected by a public at all at once every 3 years. All at once every 3 years, okay. Represents a specific district. Adjustment for... It's the House of Representatives. The Senate Council serves 6 years. It's just... Okay, so you're so lazy you couldn't even invent something that's not the American system, even though you say it's Westminster.
No, it's not. It's not the American system because it says the House is where most bills are introduced and voted on. Then the Senate votes on the bills before they're sent to approval. It's the Senate and the House of Lords,
which is stupid. That's fucking stupid.
And it actually probably is the House of Lords because it says the executive branch is formed by whoever wins majority of a
that's actually vomit-inducing. That is genuinely vomit-inducing.
It's a PM cabinet, shadow cabinet, that whole thing.
You know,
it's like if you took every retarded government on Earth and merged them together.
Yeah, it's like if you took the worst aspects.
Actually, no, I take that back. That would at least be fun.
It's the worst halves of the U.S. and Westminster system.
It's even worse. 7 judges nominated by PM and voted on by the House.
Oh
So
Christ.
to protect them from political pressures, they have no term limits and job security, mandatory retirement, 70. That's fine, but so what the hell does the Senate do?
The
To protect them from political pressures, you are voting on them by the people that constantly have to get reelected. How is that not
Something
protecting
checks
them
and
from political
balances.
pressures?
Hey, Biggs.
That's why we
Hello.
have the Senate.
So we're
They're
seeing
the
an
ones who vote on
Anglophile.
appointments.
We're seeing an Anglophile combine the dumbest aspects of both the Westminster system with the American system.
I think this is the first time I've heard Nth Crit ever talk, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yep. Hi.
In
Oh,
fact,
that
I
means
think
you
this is the
didn't
first
watch
time
our
I've ever
previous
met you.
episode.
No, I didn't. I was with family. I was doing something cool with them. We were
Aw.
playing poker.
You missed the part where they just stole all the details of the O'Neill cylinder from UC Gundam's actual research, and also their
You do know
horrible
the O'Neill.
transport system.
You do know the O'Neill cylinder is an actual thing, right?
I'm aware. And they went into
Wait.
inordinate detail on it to pretend they proved their work, even though they basically were inspired by anime only.
Wait, who are we talking? Wait, are we talking about the gay communist game we're about to read again?
Yeah, we're doing Hardwired Island, dude.
All right, give me a link to this bitch.
Someone else do that as I continue to go on about the legislature. So the Senate has no actual value, which means you know what they could have done instead? Unimercal system. There's no fucking point to a Senate, so you could have just done literally just a unimercal. Bimercal only works if you decide to split the responsibilities, which this doesn't. Senate's just a rubber stamper. There's absolutely no point. Unless the point is they're supposed to be the sinecures, where you just hand idiots.
Or if it's like the the game designers want the system to be completely fucked up and broken because that's the government. Government sucks.
Except the British one, which is why they're on their 4th prime minister, I think, in 1 year.
Keep them coming.
It's almost like you should stop colluding with each other in a greasy, disgusting way.
Come on, Second British Revolution.
Oh, man. I feel so bad for the United Kingdom right now. Every
How the hell do we
aspect
have all
of
these
them.
How the hell did we get all these Brits in our server?
The author of this book is a Britaboo.
Oh.
The non-ruling... Okay, where was I? So the executive is literally elected in the Westminster system because, God forbid that you actually vote for the person you want in fucking office. Can't let those plebeians actually get what they want. Fuck that. Reminder that the person who writes this thinks this is a good idea. It's always been my biggest problem with Westminster is you don't actually get to choose which idiot you put in charge. So, you can actually blame yourself when they screw it up, Although, I guess in a way it makes it nicer because you don't have to blame yourself, except for voting for that party. I don't know. Opposition, blah, blah, blah. So judiciary, it's basically the fucking judiciary branch of the U.S. Choosing your enemy. Everyone 18 or older is automatically registered to vote. Voting is compulsory, but enforced loosely. You're technically only required to show up. Because compulsory voting is such a good idea.
Wait, there's something with the head of state. Signs technically the head of state is the United Nations Grand Cross Project Committee. Committee approves the prime minister, issues writs for election, has the power to veto the Senate. What the hell does the Senate do? So wait, we have two executive branches then.
Yeah.
How?
Maybe they shouldn't have made this an independent station and should have just had it under the UN, which would have made a million times more sense.
This is incompetence.
It's bad world building.
Just put the U.S. just transplant whatever political
Just put
system you want.
just put the United Nations Security Council.
Not this thing that makes the Articles of Confederation look smart.
Like have have it be under UN jurisdiction, but you have local equivalent elections for like councilmen.
But here's the most important question: do they have an NAP?
Of course not. It's not these type of people. So choosing your enemy, everyone's forced to vote. I guess at gunpoint.
Let's go
Oh,
with
you
that.
forgot the gun brands where they have no mechanical difference except for like some really stupid things.
Oh,
Man,
God.
I kind of want to go back to showing off how stupid their take on guns are. It's hilariously bad.
How bad?
You know what? Let's go back. We're gonna take you back to the past.
To play the shitty games that really suck
sections
ass?
that suck ass.
So one of the items you can get is literally called a doggo.
Okay, oh God, that makes my soul cringe.
It costs as much as a mobility aid, recreational drugs, a skateboard, thieving gear, almost as much as a vehicle. Oh, and yes, they say it's cute as heck.
What page is this on? What
Oh,
page is this on?
Oh, it's on
Oh,
page 81. I'm using chapter 4, assets and cybernetics.
I like how I like how you could get a fucking mobility scooter. You can make mobility merry.
Yeah, you can.
It looks like the fucking combat wheelchair just came back.
You can buy a
And now it's
gym,
in space.
verified account, facial rec obscure, rioting gear, costs as much as a dog. Subversion subroutine, because you can buy your scripts, because hacking, you don't actually make your programs, you're just a script kiddie, which is really pathetic. I'm just going back. I hope you don't mind. This is just because Randall and Biggs are not familiar. Oh, here we go. Guns on page 88. Guns are rare and tightly controlled on Grand Cross because they're Britaboos. They're only available at all because corporations want to make money selling them.
Oh, wait, wouldn't the corporations make more money by charging people like security subscription, and then it lets the criminals have guns, so there's a reason to buy the security subscriptions?
You don't
And then
understand,
make guns
Randall.
illegal so people can't defend themselves, so they have to buy the security subscription.
Also,
Randy,
don't forget the homeless people they're letting in on the station.
Yeah.
He'll take. Do they have like an anti-gun spiel saying if the PC don't let the PC use guns because that's bad?
I'll get into it, but here's some of the stupidity. So here are the brand names. There's Ogremok, which they can use any type of ammo via a revolutionary self-adjusting chamber and barrel. The gun literally transforms to take new calibers. There's the gun brand that's literally just it's like for gun nuts because apparently they're designed elegantly, like I guess the katana or whatever.
They've been folded 1,000 times to make the barrel.
There's the company weapon that has Wi-Fi.
Every time you shoot an unarmed child, it uploads the selfie of your cold dead grin to social media.
You can 3D print another company provides 3D printing, so if you lose or ditch your weapon, you can use your phone to request a new copy or print one at home.
That's from fucking Borderlands.
Of course it is.
2. There's a brand of guns that their gimmick is that they're so cheap they replicate back into your hand. So you throw them and they explode and you make a new one. You stole that from fucking Borderlands 2, you hacks.
They do go into detail about how combat bad, though. I vaguely remember. I'm trying to find it. It's really bad. There's also an entire segment on cops bad, where they talk about the police
Fuck
drone.
Cops.
Yeah.
Fuck 12.
I'm trying to find it because it's really annoying. They also say poison bad.
Yeah, no, I found it. There are no rules for poisons. Poisons are generally too slow acting to matter during the average fight, and not even the cartel makes poison weaponry. they don't want to get sued for poisoning people, but they are willing to get sued for shooting them. Apparently.
Oh, don't forget that. Don't forget this essentially sandy vagina wine moment at the end. Especially not when they can dismantle environmental regulations and do it legally. Fuck you.
Like,
What
I
the
agree with
fuck?
the sentiment, but the person saying that is a weaselly little shit, and I want to punch him in the face.
I don't blame you. They're very
They're-
obnoxious.
The chemical warfare doesn't care
It's-
about your feelings, jackass.
I'm trying to find the one where they go about combat. Oh, is it in? No, it's not. Is it in combat? Let me look. I'm sorry. It's just it was so bad. It was so bad. Fuck. I'm desperately trying to find it. Where they go into detail about how combat is. Oh, is it? Oh, it might be. Oh, it's in chapter 2, I think maybe. Here we go. Getting into fights. I remember now. Fight tips. Simple opponents. Damage and harm. When you take damage, taking damage. The problem with combat. Here it is on page 47. 47. Ultimately, rules for getting into fights are also rules for attempting murder. Even if you don't intend to yet, it's possible that somewhere in your future is a guy with hopes and dreams and a chance to turn his life around, whose decades-long story... This is like Neil Druckmann level pathetic. Like, this is so fart-huffing. This is what I was looking for.
No,
So-
this Neil
so,
Druckmann
wait,
pathetic. They
wait
would
a
have had
minute.
that at the end of the whole thing.
Oh,
Wait a minute,
God.
does that mean this book is admitting that cops are actual people too? And if you want to kill them, you're a weird sicko?
No, of course not.
No, cops aren't people.
The rules for combat actions are placed after the other actions because they're meant to be a tool of last resort. They're what you use when you can't talk to, hack, or avoid your problems. People who try violence first tend to be messed up or worse. Policemen. But violence is still on the table. Sometimes it's in self-defense. Sometimes the possibility of violence is enough. Sometimes you just want to have a cool action scene. That's okay. Don't be afraid to fight if you need to. Just be sure to explore all the like that is where I think you lose a lot of people in RPGs. Like this
Yeah.
preachy fucking bullshit.
So, I know it's like, it gives you, it's like discouraging it and wants you to be smarter, but like, why would you have this combat? Like, why would you have, I wouldn't call it in-depth, but there's at least like a little bit of
here's
to
the
the
thing.
combat.
Here's the thing. It's their preachy. Like, if they had rephrased it like getting into combat means that somebody is going to die. It could be you, it could be the bad guy, it could be somebody you think is the bad guy, it could be a random bystander.
But if you've gotten to
Somebody
this point,
is going to get
up.
hurt. Yeah, you fucked up. There are ways around it.
There were at least maybe there's usually at least one or two things you could have done to avoid getting to this point. Like if they said it in a the problem is, yeah, the message isn't a horrible one. It's just they have the worst way of expressing it.
I think Unknown Armies did something similar, but they actually, did it competently. Where it's like, you should do getting out your guns and shooting stuff is
It'll
never
work, but you
a
probably
good.
fucked
No,
up.
they just flat out say, no, it's not a good idea. The cops are going to show up. You're probably going to get arrested. You might end up hitting somebody in a neighboring house. Don't try to avoid it at all cost. Here are things that the players can do before whipping out guns, like call the police, take evidence, record stuff like that.
But no.
Or make the system extremely lethal.
Yeah,
like,
the system is
you're in violence.
lethal.
If you engage in violence, one of the characters is just going to end up dead.
That's basically Aces and Eights, the old Western game, because the way it worked was tenths of a second. Basically, combat worked in tenths of a second, so you could get actually shot in the heart, stomach, and basically multiple lethal bullets, but still be alive to continue combat. Because it's in tenths of a second. Yeah, your heart just got shot out, but you can blow the other guy's brain away before you drop dead.
You take my life, but I take yours too.
That's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
we're
still pretty brutal. Let's get
and
back to the politics. Sorry, I needed to show because you were not there. You weren't there. So there are 4 parties, even though the Westminster system kind of only favors 2.5. But what the fuck do we know?
We're going on the parties then?
Yeah, there's the
Oh
Union
boy.
Party. It's on 107. Liberal, pro-orbit, capitalist.
Guess what they're referencing?
The Opposition Party. Union is a center-left party that sees Grand Cross as the place where humans can change into something better. Their official goals are social and economic equality, strong relations with other settlements, and independent from Earth. On paper, they advocate for policies they believe benefit the public interest. Yeah,
they're the Democrats.
expanding healthcare
Here's
for
here's
cybernetics, stronger welfare state.
here's one question I have. Have they indicated that there's a change in values when it comes to the to LGBT people?
No,
They haven't told us, well, if it's a
no.
multicultural thing, if they're still more progressive, if there's
Yeah, that's a good
there's rights.
question. I mean, I'm assuming yeah, because they can't face any, actual issues like that. Like, you notice how they can't actually have problems in the setting that you can't quickly solve?
Yeah.
So we don't know. I mean, they don't go into details. I'm just assuming they're as progressive, if not even more progressive. It's just people sometimes say mean things. Like the timeline change happened in the 1990s. And since this place was built by a lot of the world at once, do we actually know if you're allowed to be gay married on the fucking Grand Cross? No. They don't actually go into that. You get what I mean? Like, they don't go into actual cultural detail. Well, maybe they do later, but I mean, if your change happens in the 90s and you have a lot of different cultures at once, that's to prevent like the Indians, Chinese, and even Japanese, because they look down on that shit. Basically, the 5 billion people who look at this and say, "Go fuck yourself." The majority of the world.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a worldwide project, what's to stop that from happening?
But only white people hate gays.
So okay, so give me a bit of a question. Just a quick little aside for the Grand Cross. So like they're independent from Earth. Was there just like a whole like colony drop that happened off screen? And they
There was
won
a
their space
Tunguska
independence?
event that happened in the 90s, and when they finished constructing it, the UN just kind of let them go mostly independent for no reason.
I
But
feel like
they're
that's a
also
really
not
bad
independent.
idea.
They're also not independent at the same time because the writer's a moron.
I feel like that's a really bad idea of not having closed their eyes on this space project you probably spent untold trillions on.
Oh, and don't forget the tens upon tens of thousands of dead bodies building it. The Fijian lives don't matter to the space people.
Yeah.
They're the wrong kind of Pacific Islander we care about.
Oh, man.
Next party.
There's a big split between the base and the leaders. People who vote for Union's policy tend to want them in. Okay, so yeah, crappy Democrat equivalent.
Unity.
I like how you can just like the seeds from this bitch too. It's like those fucking Democrats. How dare they think they're a friend of me? You're that's literally what they're saying here without saying it.
This is just the writer throwing a tantrum that neo-libs will throw their progressives under the bus whenever they fucking need to. Well, you finally realized you're chattel to the slaughter, you fucking pigs? You're assets to globo corporate interests. That's why they pretend to care.
You've been subverted since Occupy.
The last thing you did right was protest the G7 summit 20 years ago, you fucking assholes.
More than 20. That was Battle of Seattle was 2000, right?
Yeah.
Or 1990.
Sellouts. That's what you fuckers are. So Unity is oh god.
Republicans.
They're the
Yeah.
Republicans.
You didn't even need to think of. What, did you even need to think about that, Adam? Come on.
Capitalist, pro-earth, conservative, center-right party.
Wait, guys. I'm decoding the message. Scroll up a little bit for go to like show the in between like unity and union. You see what the do you see what the author's trying to subtly imply?
Uh,
Unity,
Oh,
union,
fuck
unity,
you.
union.
not.
Fuck
I mean,
you,
I'm getting the
author.
union thing being the union,
It-
but I don't get the unity idea.
Oh, no, you
They're
know,
the same thing.
That's
It's the Ben
literally-
Garrison.
Oh,
It's the Ben Garrison cartoon with the Illuminati going right, right, left, right, left.
it would be
It
funnier if it was the
is.
Ben Garrison version. I'd love to. It'd be fun to see their opinion then on
Violently
unity.
disgusting.
what a subtle nudge, wink, wink. Am I right? And when I mean subtle, I mean like getting right behind a fucking alley as they upload the pictures to social media and say, "Try louder, Pete."
Although ironically, given that they're Anglophiles, it kind of is true though. That's basically what they are.
Yeah.
They're same creatures that
All right,
all want the same thing and are refusing. Oh God.
I mean,
all
I'd
right.
argue
Let's
this
get on to the
is.
right wing squad.
I mean, I'd argue this is neoliberalism and neocons.
Orbital Reform Party. ORP is a minor party that sees Grand Cross as an extension of the grounding chief on Earth. They work closely with Unity.
Oh, it's Ross Perot. It's the
Mingle,
No,
Reform
no,
Party.
protectionist, pro-Western, prejudiced. No, this is
It's MAGA.
it's the
it's-
MAGA movement. Oh my God.
Yeah, you
Failed
feel like
politicians from Western
failed
countries,
politi-
former
Yeah,
businessmen,
failed
and right-wing
politicians.
Christians.
It's an open secret. They're bankrolled by Earth's mega corporations. What the fuck have you been
Oh,
smoking,
you mean like you
jackass?
mean like you, jackass? You mean like basically all of Hollywood and their fake progressive movement being paid by what's that big stupid BlackRock? What is it called?
Yeah, BlackRock. Those fuckers are evil.
And yet, despite that, they're willing to throw billions of dollars into the furnace. Look at Rings of Power.
Oh, that's Amazon.
I'm just showing Oh no, they all get money from all the entertainment. Are so fucking disgusting.
You remember that? You remember when Sam Bankman-Fried was caught funneling money to the right-wing death squads?
Hey,
used all
remember when Disney actually made 3 fake Twitter accounts to attack the lady they had on Obi-Wan to artificially create a hate campaign so that they can use
Alright.
the woman who is not white as a human shield in the same disgusting sense that a murderer might use a child to avoid being shot by SWAT.
All right, let's go to the techno-progressive party, full of socialists and pro-orbit.
Oh, the fake. Are they also? I hope they're fake as fuck.
They're called
No.
technos.
They're not. Oh, they're the technocrats. They're gonna give us 4-hour staggered work weeks.
While they're quite strong for a minor party, they struggle to reach consensus between more socialist, more technocratic members. Don't you like how this is the only one that's not insulted by the piece of shit writer?
Yeah, because
Well, like,
they're
is
the
this supposed to be
socialist
the
good
social
guys.
Is this supposed to be the social democrats? That's what I'm thinking. This is.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. If you're gonna shit on everyone, shit on everyone. That's what that's what Cyberpunk back in the day did.
The only thing that they're doing approaching close to insulting is saying, "Oh yeah, sometimes our members get radicalized by space ISIS, but that's okay. We're the good guys."
Disgusting.
Okay, people are complicated. Okay, so are we gonna actually get something approaching critical thought? Let me read this. All of these parties are formed by people from all over Earth, from parties with all sorts of different stances. What the parties want and what their people want don't always line up. A lot of Union and Unity members have common ground on specific issues, and even if they don't agree on much, the voters can have all sorts of reasons to vote and don't have much to do with their party and main policies. People are messy, complex, and weird. In case it wasn't clear enough, Unity sucks and more. Sucks
Of
more.
course.
Go fuck yourself, you pretentious asshole. I actually find this person almost as annoying as the Meat Punks lady.
I
Yeah?
like how it wasn't until those last 2 fucking sentences I thought, oh hey, this is actually somewhat neutral and actually kind of agreeable. But now
You know what
they
my
ruined
rebuttal
it.
to this is? If it's a worldwide thing, you would actually see a much more scary, fucked up mix. Like you would see the worst aspects of both the West, the Latin American weird fucking yo-yo, like you see in Brazil. You'd see the
You're
African warlords trying to build fucking petty power politics areas in the wards with
you're
actual
zombie.
fucking soldier death squads.
Motherfucker, if this orb thing was real, motherfucking Garen Zombie would be giving a speech right now how you're gonna live your life for the glory of Xeon, motherfucker.
Like I'm just
Yeah.
showing
Break out the
like
G3 gas!
Like, let's go. If we're going full worldwide, okay. So, the two neoliberal parties, yeah, that could be fairly Western and with more corruption from, like, say, the rest of the world.
Well,
like your actual weird.
let's shit on neoliberalism. Let's make them the greedy, dumb corporate hacks they are. Who, they own, quote unquote own the station, but they can't really control it.
Like, yeah, you just have the worst aspects from with Union, your Democrat Party, your labor elements of labor, the right element of labor.
It'd
Throw
be
in
of the
Japanese liberal party with some weird nationalist bent for some fucking reason. Throw in the liberal equivalents that you'd see in South America, where they're just paid opposition and basically in the pocket of whoever's more powerful. Throw that in.
yeah.
Also, the
Massive
guy
amounts
who's
of
kind of
corruption.
Bitcoin.
Massive amount of
So-
corruption. Massive scandals that occur every now and again.
So it's a space third world nation. Like it's propped up by Western interests so they can make money, and everything below what's not essential to keep the money flowing is an utter shit
Well, no, I'm
show.
just the way I'm seeing it is it's 3 million people and
Actually-
it's worldwide, right?
Yeah.
Actually,
So
hold
your
on.
politics would be the worst aspects of every fucking system out there.
Yeah.
Actually, hold on,
Yeah.
that would be an interesting idea. Again, going by their politics, communists or leftists, whatever, have there's a massive disaster. These rich countries losing power, they won't exploit the poor countries. So they build this giant space station, send all the people from the poor countries into space, and exploit the now weakened and depopulated countries.
Welcome to
Hey.
sides 3 to side 6.
That's
Of
what I was about
UC
to say.
Gundam.
That's just Gundam, man.
Yeah.
It is. As
Yeah.
for Unity, this would be your weird mix of like, that imbecile Bolsonaro. You throw him in, throw your Republican Party, throw your conservatives from the British, throw I think the actual Liberal Party from Japan because they're actually really conservative. Throw
Yeah.
aspects of your dictatorial kind of corrupt warlords from Africa. So you'd actually see like private militaries in some of the wards where they fucking intimidate voters. At least in the
Yeah.
less monitored ones.
I think it's you'd have those guys that are like stay in power forever. Not like the
voter
warlord types,
intimidation.
but just
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's like,
Can I-
disgusting neo-dictators to a degree. Orbital reform would just be essentially a mixture of Ba'athist, not really MAGA. Maybe some of the stupidity that is the
Actually,
America
actually,
First.
you know what? Actually, you know what? Have fun with it. Make them like the really conspiratorial populist groups.
Throw
like,
conspiracy
from all over.
theory.
Like their beliefs are just a book full of these illustrations. Like
We're-
everything's a conspiracy. The left, the right, they're all working to fuck us over.
Okay, so
and they're all
here's
working
what
for
I'm
God,
the
envisioning.
Owen
aliens.
Benjamin as a political party.
Take British Union Party. Take the thing Carl of Applebee's was a part of. Take elements of that. Take Kanye West's current brain lunacy. Throw that in with Nick Fuentes. Then throw in the Ba'athist movement from fucking from the Arabian movements because National Socialist. Throw in
throw
conspiracies.
Throw in a bit of folk socialism too, just to make it a little weirder.
And-
so it's not just the evil right wing.
Yeah, like there's elements that on the party that are weirdly socialistic. Then throw in some of the weird cranks like the Second Reich movement in Germany, Sovsits, Japanese
dash-
hyper nationalists, and the right wing of the Juche movement in North Korea.
Yes.
You need a dash of Christian evangelicalism.
That too. And what I'm envisioning is it's the worst kind of nationalist movements from around the world, trying to this would be the equivalent of like your Xeon.
The International Nationalist Party.
And it's led by a guy. It's led by some asshole
I-
named Soto de Guanzabe.
No, I got it. The hyper-nationalist movement, where it's basically we gotta unite all nationalist unions under one ideology.
We are
So
bound
all
by
co-op-
space, where that
Yep.
means that we look down upon the Earth.
It's
No,
time to stop having fun. It's
We're all
time to
gonna
stop having
establish
fun now.
mutual national zones for our own interest, and then we're gonna go expand humanity into the stars.
The
to conquest
collective
Earth.
Bantustan,
Yeah.
where
It-
they
it-
all self-segregate.
I have to be that guy now. We have to stop having fun now. We have to get back to this.
Well, no, to techno progressive, that's very simple. It's the worst aspect of Chunk Uyghur, crypto commies in the U.S., actual Chinese communist agitators, former Soviet, communists looking back to the good old days, and like your movie blobs, and have them be like infiltrated by fucking disgusting corpo.
Yeah. You know, I'm liking this. I'm liking the shit that we're coming up more than anything in this book.
Because we actually thought about what a multinational station would look like. Because it's not just the Western politics.
It sounds a lot more interesting as a setting.
Well,
to be honest,
the problem is this is a worldwide settlement with everyone around
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
The politics would be fucked. Like, it wouldn't be Western bullshit.
Yeah, it would be.
There'd be elements of it, but no. No, there'd be all the other horrible ones.
Honestly, this is now just kind of making me sad because it's like a premise that seems wasted.
The problem is the writer's a preachy cunt and has thrown
Yeah.
away decent mechanics and the potentially good setting in favor of being a cunt. In my opinion,
Yeah.
they're preferring to just be a cunt who has a bone to pick with current year.
Yeah.
And I'd say the same thing even if they were a weird right winger like Ben Garrison. Like if this was just like shitting all over the commies, that'd be the same thing.
Yeah. Like that one weird furry ANCAP RPG that we need to
God.
do at some point because
Oh god. We also have to eventually. Oh god, I don't want to do more Jolt. Anyway, here's some of the prime ministers. So who's the PM? We've got a few options, which make it pointless. By the way, there's supposed to only be one prime minister.
I think the idea is that the individual GM can put whoever they want in.
Oh, that's
To help
stupid.
custom-
Take your pick of which.
I kind of like it because it allows the GM to kind of tweak and customize the setting. And also, what if the PM gets assassinated by the... Well, then who steps up?
It's
Well,
taking
By the
your
who you
pick
cut out.
on which person you want to hate. You got Jeremy Rickard, which honestly
Don't
is
you
just
like the
generic
white
politician.
person spelling? By the way,
Jimmy Bachman, who, last paragraph, huge 90s geek. He thought of Jean-Luc
my-
Picard facing the Borg while asking his cabinet to consider deporting disaster refugees. He
what?
wears ill-fitting blazers over Star Wars shirts when he talks to the press about increasing police powers. He imagines himself as the heroes of his sci-fi classics and likes to think Luke Skywalker would have arrested protesters too.
No, the problem is this person has proven they don't consume product because Jean-Luc Picard in Next Generation was an 80s thing. You fucking fraud. This is an asshole who, just like another hack by the name of Klutzman, probably only saw First Contact.
I mean, not even
I-
that guy would have
Also,
thought
he
Luke
kind of
Skywalker wants
unironically
to become the police state.
He also unironically is making a nod to Star Trek Picard. Oh god.
And then Warwick Johnson, which is
I like
just
how too, like Jimmy
conservative Christian.
Bachman. Jimmy Bachman's just basically Elon Musk. These fuckers.
Yeah.
It's just I wonder what I think Jimmy Bachman would have become a fucking like Star Lord, like in Ancient Evil, if this was written today, given the shit that Musk has been pulling now.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
But
how
again-
the moment that the news media lost the and the FBI lost the ability to use Twitter as a fucking cudgel, they immediately changed tone on Twitter?
Yep.
That is amazing. In the span of one day.
The
And
other
they
thing is,
genuinely think it doesn't look fucking fake and astroturfed when they do this.
is that he's at press conferences wearing Star Wars shirts. I'm just imagining.
I mean, there
I'm
was this-
imagining the movie guy, or no, the comic book guy from The Simpsons as a politician.
I was thinking Eric Butts. You know, the
Did a
guy
lot-
who cried on every trailer of Star Wars, or like Kevin Smith looking like a borzoi sobbing, like if you paid him $5.
I mean, again, none of them would have thought Luke Skywalker is okay with a police state.
Well, actually, the fun thing is, in A New Hope, he wanted to join initially.
Because he was a kid, but
Then they killed his aunt and uncle. That's the only reason.
You remember that?
Not even fucking with you. If they did not shoot they didn't kill Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, he would have become a fucking fighter pilot for the Empire.
The author is just really probably angry that Luke Skywalker dared to kill native sand people.
I mean, that's kind of a thing that you have to do since they will murder you just for existing on
We
Tatooine.
need to we need to go to Warwick Johnson. I will do it now. Warwick is a boring old Australian. He was raised in the 50s, ran his dad's fish and chip shop until the impact, then joined the Liberal Party for something to do. His career was mostly notable for his blunders, which ended up with his party assigning him to the Grand Cross Interim Council to get rid of him.
So he's Boris
But as a
Johnson.
middle-aged white man, Warwick could only fall upwards. His veteran politician status, plainly speaking, had it, and funny Australian accent helped him fail all the way up to the Unity's leadership.
You know, the writer who also probably failed their way into getting this funded probably shouldn't accuse others of doing it.
For the most part, Warwick is one of those politicians, the mediocre ones who's the parent party line, and chiefly remembered for keeping the seat warm. Unfortunately, the party line in Unity is essentially the basic principle of conservatism, that society should have a group of people who make the rules, but they aren't bound by them. Like many conservatives, Warwick's ideal in-group contains him and people who look like him. White, male, human, augmented, and preferably Christian. This causes some friction within Unity as his members come from all places all over Earth, but they're all bound by their belief that there is an in-group and that they're in it. Do you hear that, black conservatives? They don't like you! Ironically, this has made Warwick better than most Unity members regarding the disaster. Without him pushing to help the refugees, Unity would do even less. Don't mistake this for uncharacteristic change of heart, though. He won't say it out loud, but he wants to help the refugees because most of them are white.
So, here's my rebuttal to all of this, by the way. Every candidate that they wrote was a white guy. Reminder, this is a multinational organization, so you couldn't have people from around the world for your 3 examples. They all had to be in order some weird American mongrel mutt thing because of the very fucking white person spelling of Jeremy and Richard. German and also WASP. Where's your South American politician? Where's your
Coyote.
East Asian? Where's your South Asian?
well,
You
they-
can't.
they
You
don't-
cannot. If you have a multinational UN-funded project with people around the world, you don't get the fucking privilege of pretending that you're no more racist than they are.
Well, they
Coyote
don't know any
16
other
brings
kinds
up a
of
good-
conservatives except for them.
Coyote
They
16 brings
couldn't
up a
even
good
make a
point.
shit post of that idiot Bolsonaro. Come on, wouldn't that be perfect? It's like your weird third option there.
They don't know international politics. They
The
don't even know
dude
what's going on.
left in a cloud of embarrassing failure that fucked up Brazil. Come on, man.
All right, shut up and let me say this. Coyote 16 asks the question of how old is the writer? Because with all the ageism going on, you would think it's really curious what the writer's age might be. What do you guys put your money on?
I would say between the age of 36 to 26.
Setting.
Okay.
I'm
Paul-
saying
I was gonna say 15.
We got it. We got his Twitter.
All right, so moving on. Society, Grand Cross is a melting pot of cultures from all over the earth, but there's still white
Because
people
Lord
over the-
forbid that people actually develop their own cultural norms, even when integrated together.
That's still fucking with me. Like, this is both like, okay, so it's mostly white people here, but at the same time too, it's also a melting pot. This writer is fucking retarded.
Well, it's the standard kind of point. Like, if you've have you noticed that they're kind of destroying like not just the culture of the West, like every culture.
Wait, hold on.
That's
I'm
what
looking
I'm
at the
thinking
guy's
too.
Twitter.
It's like,
This makes sense. He's Australian,
oh no.
so it's just all Australian.
Nothing ever happens in Australia.
Look, I'm just if you're gonna have a melting pot of societies, you can do that to a degree, and it would work. This is how a variety of cultures formed around. This is how the cultures of
I,
Latin America formed. This is how.
I feel like if there is a society, like a multicultural society, I feel like there wouldn't be like this big grandiose this big grandiose like big mega party. If it is truly made out of all these multiple parties, there would be so many different of these fucking factions all trying to represent what culture like aspect. What I'm trying to say
Oh
is it would be a pretty
God,
big
yeah.
fucking mess.
Well, that's why even in things like Westminster and first past the post systems, they usually have a voting cap, like a percentage cap, and that's why if you actually look at the trash fire that is Westminster, the people who win are your second choices. You have to
Ironically, I
pick.
would make
You
the
have to fucking pick people in order, so they even have a fucking reason to figure out who won.
Ironically, I would make the argument because of this tenuous situation, people with somewhat similar ideas would most likely interact with one another and come to form an understanding with one another.
And that's
Therefore,
why
making
our
a
weird
non-
party thing we came up with. Yeah.
therefore making therefore to di- therefore to the chaos of diversity, understanding can be found, so we can hate the other people on the left
Also,
and on the
cultural
right,
synthesis.
respectively.
You'd also see
You,
examples of cultural synthesis. Yeah, like you'd see fucking weird. You'd see like weird Samoan dudes with red equivalent MAGA hats, fucking I don't know, eating shrimp on a Barbie as like a fucking as like a fucking crazy as a fucking crazy Indian man in a neo was it Japanese nationalist fucking headband screaming
and we
about
can
the
use
divine power of the emperor. Like you'd see like the weird congealing.
this
Yeah.
is
At least the beginnings of it.
unironic because like
The
I'm a
beginnings.
horrible race. I'm a horrible racist, and I hate diversity. But that is unironically how you do it right. You just have everybody crammed in, and through adversity, they come to love each other. This writer is retarded. He could have made something beautiful. He could have made something that made sense, that made even a Confederate in a wheelchair happy. You fucking blew it,
He
you
could have made
retard.
the Principality of Xeon, which is literally what happened. Basically, if you're wondering, Side 3 was where the political dissidents, those who actually fought against the literal equivalent of Globo Homo, like the world order, they fought against that. Your hyper nationalists shoved them into one spot, and eventually they, after initial bloodshed, worked together because they all agreed on one thing: fuck the elites, and they became an actual unified people on that.
Yeah.
That's how Xeon became a thing.
So
And
this
it's post truth.
author
It's like
missed the perfect
2020, I think it was written.
the author missed the perfect opportunity to have
Actual
a true diverse.
multiculturalism and diversity.
Yes, but instead he boiled it down to, okay, so the white people are all here. Take your firearm and go commit a mass shooting to the Unity Party.
No, they didn't go that far. Remember, violence bad. But with the
All
prime
right,
ministers, they could have at least thrown in one or two like oddball things, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? And then go into society about how it's a melting pot.
all right. Well, so we have to do for science. I love science.
Well, no, there's also made of star stuff. Space and Fire's thoughts about the universe and humanity's place in it. The boring. Yeah. For science.
Grand Cross is a scientific wonder, the final form of the post-impact research boom, and so science, specifically the spirit of experimentation, is valued. People like to think they're experimenting with new ways of thinking, new social norms, new arts, new forms, new discoveries. The seed of humanity might have been planted on Earth, but they'll blossom up here. Of course, the Great Plots is still capitalist, so how much blossoming is actually going on up for debate? But people certainly love to think they are.
Hey, genius, what's your solution to this system? And if you try to say communism, I'm going to point you to all of the not real communisms that happened each time someone suggested it as an idea.
It's my version of communism.
Okay, so the
which
many
will cause
crossers
the
from
same
Earth,
amount of deaths as every other not my communism.
many crossers from Earth still feel attached to their homeland, and their ties can be felt in community celebrations and the station's endless appetite for Earth media. In the
Consume
weird
product
people
to ignore the fact that you're going to be a ball of dirt one day.
Some even push for. Some even people push
Stave
for
off the
measures.
existential nightmare that is your life by consuming product.
They fight for measures that would expand their nation's influence in the Grand Cross, or fight the hashtag rival nations politician when those bastards push for it. When others let Earth go, some left into the past to focus on the present. Some never liked it anyways. Some were born on Grand Cross and don't care.
Those are
Then there's
children.
people who take pride in Grand Cross itself, relish in the cultural diversity, or see
Which
the
is why
orbital
they act
space.
all exactly the same, and we don't bring up any of the brown and black people that are clearly in this area. Also the yellow people. We don't talk about them, the
Oh,
red
we're
people, the other brown people, the third type of brown people, or the second type of black people.
all right. So now we
It's all
have
white all the
waves and
time, according to this Australian writer.
we need to talk about the waves and generations. We need to talk about the boomers of space now.
Oh, fuck. So there's the builders. Yeah, these are the people that actually built them.
Oh, it's the greatest generation.
Oh,
They see what they're doing.
fuck me.
Oh,
Second generation, my ass. It's only been up for less than 10 years.
They're
Are
called
they
the builder
generation in the
society.
form of
Heaps a lot.
Transformers?
Society heaps a lot of praise on them, and not much else. Though the least got housing and the deal. Many struggle with slashing pensions, cybernetic mason, and the rising cost of living. Yeah, it's the greatest generation.
They're not that old yet. These people wouldn't be that fucking old. They'd be in their
Does
40s.
this guy assume that people age faster in space?
Yeah, it's like I was about to say. It's like that movie Interstellar, where they go down to the planet in like 5 billion years past because they were
No,
on
they're
it for
just
like
he's
10
just
days.
That's
stupid.
going past light speed.
No,
They're
he's
not
just
going past light.
stupid. He's just stupid. He doesn't understand that it's finished in 2013. So by that, and the project started in 2010 to 2009. He doesn't understand that the people hired up there at the oldest at this point would probably just hit their 50s.
Maybe the Tunguska event changed the way the Earth moves. Maybe a year is now.
Don't give
10
this
years.
writer an excuse. Don't do it.
I'm making this
He
up.
wants it to be
No,
2020.
They didn't.
The problem is he didn't. He should have had it be like 2050. Then it would make fucking sense.
All right. The first three immigrant waves to the Grand Cross happened in 2010, 2012, 2013.
Is it really
People who
immigration
counted the
when you're
first-
just populating it to actually render it into operation?
I mean,
It's
by
just like I'm just
definition,
trying to
sensitive.
imagine a scenario in which like the Mexicans like get into a fight. Which one's greater, just because they jumped the border first? Like they just jumped the border in said year. This does not make sense. You're absolutely right, Adam. Nobody would give a shit about this. They're all the same age too, most likely.
So yeah, the first generation, they're known as the builder. A few first-gen politicians co-opted a term to make themselves seem like down-to-earth underdogs, and it stuck. People who came after Grand Cross
Boomers.
Open, either in the third wave or the smaller ones, are sometimes called newcomers. It's losing interest. People are starting to call themselves first-gen too. Second-gen crossers are those who grew up on the station, include those who were born on Earth and went through high school here. These are the sort of people who like to think that younger people are ungrateful to call them double crossers. These are some terrible names. Unlike their parents whose move to Grand Cross was massively subsidized by the government in the name of populating station, they're expected to get homes, jobs, and lives on their own. This would be fine, except the wages are stagnating, the cost of living is rising, and housing is getting harder to come by. It's almost like there's a population cap on a station designed for 3 million people or something. Oh, who'd have fucking thought? Who'd have fucking thought that Malthusianism actually applies when you're in a very limited space?
I like how the second generation is a stand-in for the millennials. And they even say, shoot, a lot of people call the millennials double crossers because. Oh, God. The subtlety's killing me!
Oh, no, let's get to the
Corporate funded
values
politicians
then.
prefer to push policies that favor their older, wealthier donors. Oh, you mean the 30 to 50-year-olds? You fucking moron!
We can, it says down here, we can thank game designer Quinn Murphy's article of Culture from the Outside In. Please follow him at Q Murphy and throw some money at him. I'm gonna throw a punch in his fucking
Codex
face. Is what
1,
I'm gonna
number
do.
2.
No, don't.
They're trying to make it
hate
like it's a
this.
citation.
Do you think? No. Do you think this is just if they get criticism, this is just trying to drag another person in as a human shield and/or another
Yeah.
body in the fucking mire?
Yeah.
So
I'll have to read
here
that
are the
article.
dumb values. These are the cultural values of Grand Cross. So here you go.
Connectivity, equality, individuality, optimism, pride, rationality, rationalism, and work, which is somehow not bolded for some reason.
Whoops.
These are very much Western. Very much Western ideas.
Yeah, it's almost like the Australian man who has never. I don't even think he's personally seen an Indigenous Australian in his life.
But why would he go there? It's
Oh
poor
yeah, they'd
people
steal
live
his
there.
gas. Yeah, they'd steal his gas and huff it. But this person who's egad maybe at most seen a an Asian person because they emigrated here. Maybe the guy who has never actually had to go to say Papua New Guinea or say Indonesia even for a trip. It's almost like this guy doesn't have any fucking clue about how the rest of the world operates. No,
And
it can't be that the 5.5 billion people who don't hold Western values and who spit on the concept of what we believe in to a degree, especially in how we treat people who like other people with the same downstairs architecture. It can't be that I don't know them. I just have to speak for them.
So this author has applied their whiteness into the story, and therefore we should disregard it for it being white.
Look, if they're going to play stupid games with mental gymnastics, I think it's fun to at least do that. It at least shakes the rust off.
Let's move on down to the next one because there is nothing to be gained
Oh,
here.
hey, Servant of Wrath, what you're watching is us ripping apart Hardwired Island's Grand Cross Station. It is so the concept's very simple. If you're a fan of Gundam, it is essentially Side 3 or the Principality of Zeon before it became a thing.
But worse.
But from the point of view of a preachy Australian man who doesn't really understand any cultures outside of his limited Western view. And he doesn't understand how a multinational settlement would change quite a bit because of the strong drift through other cultural means. Like, you know what he doesn't bring up? The possibility there are entire wards in Grand Cross where female genital mutilation might be a thing. That might be a thing in some of the wards.
This book makes me want to commit genital mutilation on myself.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing like as a very stupid thing. He'll talk about how roads are just a secondary part of the building process and how they have 3 different levels of subways.
And I'm questioning why would these values be promoted in an environment like a space station, where
especially run by the UN.
Where I mean,
actually, that would make a lot more sense.
Well,
considering it's run by the UN, a lot more sense.
Yeah. But like a space station is a very controlled environment. Everything has to work exactly right, or else everything dies. Wouldn't that kind of promote a culture of extreme perfectionism and collectivism instead of individuality?
To a degree.
Like, it might even promote authoritarian systems because the knowledge to run the space station would be concentrated in a few people.
I personally think at most it would be the equivalent of a free port. Like, I've never seen Babylon 5, but how they run the station there probably would be how it's run.
I mean, it's run by military, so.
So yeah.
All right,
it'd probably be run by UN. Like, you'd see a bunch of blue helmets.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta go to bed. Good night.
Oh no!
So bad.
Come back.
It has made Randall crash into slumber.
So move on to languages.
So
multilingual, huh?
Arabic, Bengali, Cantonese, English, French, Hindi, Japanese, Korean, Mandarin, Russian, Spanish, Swahili, and Tagalog. That's Middle East and
Eastern India,
Eastern
South
Eastern
Chinese,
India.
English, French, which can include
French.
France as well as West Africa and other areas. Hindi, which is
India.
most of India, because they use it as a essentially de jure language.
Uh,
Japanese, which obvious. Korean, obvious. Mandarin, North China. Russian, yeah. Spanish, which is through Latin America as well as the Philippines to a degree.
I really don't think we have to read all this. Should we just move on
Swahili
to the
is East
next?
African.
well,
Oh no, no,
actually,
I have
yeah.
to criticize. I do have to criticize one or two things because there's a couple languages they're missing.
Well, no, there's actually. I think they bring up a point. It's third paragraph. How languages are taught and preserved in space is a hot political issue. Control over language, particularly in schools, is often a vector for discrimination. People whose languages aren't represented in space have less cultural and political influence. Long-term languages don't gain a foothold in space are more likely to die out as humanity expands.
Yes.
They got a point there, but at the same time, there's a reason why you have, as they say, like the first language is English, it's a lingua franca, because it's the most common language. Not that many people are going to know Nahuatl or Xhosa. They're butchered that, but that's the language that people click in.
That's one of the many languages people click in. I know what you're talking about. That's a South African area language.
Or Afrikaners is another example.
I'm surprised they also did not put German on there. That is surprising given how many countries actually use it. Not just Germany, it's also Switzerland, Austria, and it's a secondary language in most of Europe. Just because Germany is relatively important economically speaking. Also, there's no Sumatran, I've just noticed, or Javan. You know, the Indonesian languages that are often de jure. Huh. Look, it's fair that English is the primary language because you need something to communicate in. Some factions are pushing to bring more languages into space, while others want to make things more efficient by cutting some of them, ones they don't speak, obviously. Some fear the prevalence of English in school will lead to Anglicization in other dialects and cultures, and several solutions, from the adoption of a conlang like Esperanto to an increased focus on cultural education, are being debated in the assembly.
Now that would be a topic that would make sense in a multinational, multicultural
This
station.
is the first section of lore that makes perfect fucking sense. Oh, and here's a guy. Oh, look at this bitch. Look at this bitching fest. See, Vergonha, Japanese Korea, Native American boarding schools in the US, and my high school physics teacher not letting me swear in class even though it was really cool. No, you do not get to actually experience that. You don't get to include yourself in that, you asshole.
Where are they linking that? The vector for discrimination.
You
That's
fucking asshole.
So they're comparing the teaching of language to
Being told
policies
off for
that
swearing.
actually wipe. No, they're talking Native American boarding school.
Yeah, that's bad,
An
but
actual system to wipe out a culture, purposely wipe out culture.
By the
Comparing
way,
it to not
it's
swearing.
still not as nasty as the Canadian ones.
No, you guys, you don't understand. That's the dark humor. You see, it's funny because the horrible cultural genocide is comparable to me being reprimanded for being rude in class.
Also
Yeah,
going to point this out.
look,
He didn't reference the
I'm
Australian
okay with
one.
making jokes like that, and I am. We've made horrible jokes like that. But
I'm
you don't
playing.
get
I
to
don't know what
act
you're
like a
talking about.
preachy cunt when you then say something like this. You just opened yourself up there, buddy.
All right, can we talk about the internet now?
Oh yes,
Talking
the
about
consumption of
internet.
product, the awaiting of new product to avoid the existential dread of your life.
And I think we can tell how old this guy is. Second paragraph. Orbital websites use the .orb domain. The most well-known orb is HeoCities. I guarantee you,
Really?
30s.
Fuck. I haven't thought of Geocities in forever. Mainly because I was a little fucking, not quite a fetus, but I was a little kid when that was a major thing. Jesus.
Also, Ribbit, Rumbler, and YourTube.
That is some of the most effort I've ever seen. There's also Pulsar, which I don't remember what that's supposed to be a nod to.
I mean, I would say Facebook, but it's just social media.
Oh boy, TV and streaming. Oh boy. TV channels are streamed directly to the viewer over the internet because streaming is the superior future. Oh god. I fucking hate the streaming system. Back in the day, turning into an old man here, but remember back when it was just Netflix and that actually made it really fucking useful?
Not anymore, bitch.
Now there's how many, and it makes it basically the same as TV, but they nickel and dime you harder. How do you do, fellow kids? Yeah. Oh man, it's a shame. It's a shame that streaming has turned into complete dog shit. So where was I? Most services even let you watch any show from their library anytime you want. Traditional TV still exists, but the main draw is getting first look before the shows are uploaded. That's not the main draw. The main draw of streaming is that they try to use those numbers of people watching their crap channel to lie and use in their Ponzi scheme to lie to investors about how they're not losing tens of millions of dollars because most of their new shows are fucking dog shit that don't get enough
You're just
views.
paranoid.
Ah, God. Remember
All
when
right.
G4 botnetted their own chat right before it died and put like 30,000 fake subs?
Adam, stop your ranting. We need to talk more. We need to learn more. That's
Okay, so there's
reminiscing.
two major channels because, again, Anglaboo. Grand Cross Broadcasting Corporation, so BBC, delivers nightly news, Earth imports, and homegrown orbital shows. It's largely funded by direct government grants, but the current Unity government's been accusing it of anti-Unity bias and threatening to slash its budget. Does it also have a nonce problem? Does it also have an influx of nonces and chomos?
I hope there's no space Jimmy Savile to molest me.
Is it also destroying multi-decade old series because they can mock people because it's funded by the government, and only now are
Right.
they starting to panic because they might lose that protection?
To lean harder to the side business.
Fucking hell!
And then we have Morning Stars, the largest private broadcaster.
Equivalent of Fox News, basically.
Is it Fox News or again it's
It's
Australian?
effectively Fox News. It might be something Australian.
Grand Cross 24.
I
Trying to see if that's
I will use occasional Britishisms because some of them are pretty fun.
And the rampantly pro Unity Unity One Orbit News Network. Those are pretty heavy with corporate propaganda.
Okay, I mean at least in that one they say both sides are shit.
print.
It's only in the aftermath, but still, I'll give the writer that.
Made paper from recycled plastics and natural fibers. Industry rose to cover tabletop games, which have a large and wise following,
No, they don't.
and the university textbook industry.
The only reason tabletop games are even part of the mainstream is just because some guy managed to get a bunch of Hollywood connections and run a essentially very scripted version of D&D. And 5e somehow blew up because it's relatively simple. That's not going to happen with D and Done because they're doing a subscription base now. And that's all I'll say about it because they've actually gotten really tetchy about people criticizing it, about their new Done and Done system, and especially how they're changing the license. Oh, yeah, for those not in the news, Wizards is going to change the open game license to try to make it so they can retroactively pull your ability to use it.
I'm pretty sure that's been fucking parroted all over YouTube right now, man.
I'm just pointing out they're just doing the same dumb mistake they did in 4E, which is part of the reason why 4E did like shit.
Sir Wrath says, "Do you think Disney exists in this universe?"
Oh fuck yeah!
Yeah, probably.
I fully expect Disney to be its full nightmare zombie corporate state, where it just like they're to the point. Okay, this is where the tinfoil like crazy Infowars part of Adam comes out. In less than a few years, we're going to just see endless zombie actors because their likenesses weren't protected. Like the last zombie lurching of Hollyweird, as I call it, where it's just going to be just essentially the Spirits Within, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, where it's all CGI, including the actors. And even voice acting's not needed anymore. But you don't even have to pay for voice actors anymore because of deep-faked samples. So all they got to do is just employ sweatshop workers from South Asia to fucking do it. And when that gets too expensive, just fucking transplant it over to Hollywood.
All right.
So wait,
Hail the
moving on.
nightmare.
Moving on.
music. Top 40 is Western and K-pop.
I'm gonna be
God.
honest. We could probably skip like a lot of this pop culture shit.
I do
No,
want to say
consume
one.
product and nuclear new product.
I'm going to say one thing. Sports. Only for wealth. It says only for the wealthy that can buy station. Association football. Apparently
Of course,
is
I mean,
for the
actually,
rich,
association
which-
football would make sense.
which- Association football and basketball.
To a
I'm
degree.
sorry. You don't need really that much space for it. You need a long hallway and goals.
Same with
That's
tennis,
it.
actually. And baseball, actually, the field's not as big as a gridiron, from what I remember. It's not as big as a football field.
It isn't, but still,
But there's still
association
enough.
football would
There's
be
still enough
popular.
nations that you probably would have a stadium in maybe each ward.
Moving on.
No, just mild curiosity. Ice hockey is not that big either, so you can get away with footy and basketball at least.
Next page then.
Normally the force isn't a big deal. Something you drop will move an inch at most. So they're trying to invent a crappier version of space sports. Zero G sports are pretty cringe. The plurality of languages on Grand Cross includes the various sign languages on Earth. As on Earth,
Again-
international sign is used in places where different deaf and hard of hearing communities meet. International sign is still a pidgin language, but the increasing yeah.
That also
Hmm?
would make sense.
This just reminds me of the hilarity that of how the deaf community gets very angry whenever they increasingly make it more likely that you can cure deafness permanently. It's kind of interesting to look at the reaction each time.
Right.
Fans are divided on which better, OG or zero G. Pretty cringe. Oh boy, space shows. The things you watch to stave off your inevitable depression at your own life's failures.
Let's see, they got
Because
a
you need the
Canadian
empty
show,
hollowness.
Brazilian show, a South Korean music show, low-ring British comedy series, some Finnish show, U.S. Reality TV show, and a Japanese comedy show where they do things that most of us would not consider comedy.
These shows suck.
Why
Yeah, at
do you
least
think
the host
prefer
got racist
television?
in one of them.
Okay, let's just to give you an idea. So, Beam Me Up, a Canadian show that follows a sci-fi fan lottery winner as they move the Grand Cross. That sounds pretty lame. Big Day Blast Off, engaged couples compete for a post-wedding. This is just reality TV garbage, so we know what this guy likes to watch.
Although, to be fair, if we were talking about a multinational space station, I'm pretty sure the majority of people would be watching this kind of crap.
I'm aware. I'm just pointing out that they don't really have any variety on this. You get what I mean?
No.
Grand Cross bands. Oh boy. Oh look,
Breakfast
here's
Honestly,
some
I just say
art.
can we just skip to the food section because this sucks. It's just
Alright,
saying,
so-
oh yeah, this is the bands on the station.
But
Like,
also-
who cares?
Three Body Problem as one of them.
Alt rock tribute band.
I don't know how that would fit with that book.
Also,
Wouldn't
they
really
have a
fit.
drummer and bassist, so they are a 5-man band, so it's even stupider. Oh, and apparently they're pretending to be punk. They're not. It's pathetic.
Please tell me that's not a dig at that book.
I don't know. All I know is the music does suck. I do agree with you, Big. So let's move on to food because I am a bit of an Epicurean. I love me some good cooking. I also love me watching
Yeah.
bad cooking. Grand Cross culinary culture has always been a melting pot of styles and tastes, which would be completely correct. And this is something I would like from Grand Cross. This is one of the only good things I actually think cities are good for, is that you can go to whatever you want. Like, let's say I want to try some good old-fashioned Jamaican cuisine. Now, it is entirely possible I can find one, but it might be a decent drive. While in a city, it's only a few blocks, you know? And if, say, it's closed, you know what I can then go to? Well, I mean, that's closed, so maybe I can go to my Vietnamese place to get a banh mi, and I can go to the Vietnamese place to get a banh mi. Or, and then the next day I'd be like, well, okay, that was pretty cool, so let's try another place. Oh, look, they have Haitian style, because Haitian style is very, very greasy, very fat enriching, because, you know, they take their diet very seriously in that they make sure you eat a lot. So you can go to the Haitian diner, and then you can just top it off with a bit of curry at the local, either British Indian style fish and chip shop that sells it, or an actual Indian place. That's one of the cool things about cities is the intermingling. So you can get some interesting cultural fusions. And sometimes you get garbage like the Californian pizza. I'm not a fan of Californian pizza.
I like the little rant that this is going to be coming up. A dash of capitalism.
Oh boy. So yeah, it's a mixture of all sorts. Space ingredients. The station's plants come from the agriculture ring. All of them, huh?
Adam, it's talking about the Gloria Moon. This is clearly.
Yeah,
I wonder if
lunar
Gloria
cows.
Moon
It's
meets on this.
fucking moon wheat.
Moon wheat has to exist because if they're doing massive farms, they're not using moon grass. They're using moon
Oh my
wheat.
god, it is! Kind of. Luna is the station's main source of meat and dairy. There's fucking space farms on the moon.
Oh my
Movie
god.
Bob's ideas.
Oh, they actually did it. They used the radioactive dust from the moon to grow fucking cow feed. Oh, that's beautiful.
Moon wheat. So for all you that don't know, notorious anti-Semite and racist Movie Bob, had the great idea of wanting to grow wheat on the moon.
Well, no. He's
Adam,
not. He's not. We haven't seen him actually be anti-Semitic. We have seen him be anti-Slavic, demanding that Germany reinvade Poland, though. He's an anti-Slav. Let's be
but
fair.
yeah,
Let's
so
be fair.
going on to a dash of capitalism. All good things are infected by capitalism. Eventually, the station's culinary culture is no different. These days, ingredients are rarely farmed in space because they're inefficient. Their efficiency are seen as investments. Tuna
They
is extremely
are.
expensive to farm. Farm in space, so the Luna farms that do make sushi grade tuna set exorbitant prices. Naturally grown beef from lunar cows, even the stuff you normally see in a fast food burger joint, is a gourmet item. Real tofu with a wastefully high water content is a decadent treat.
No, I
What the
want to go
fuck are you
back on the
idiots
fact that
eating
they're
then?
No, I'm going back to because I need to go into the space ingredients. So they're somehow able to actually have the ability to feed themselves, huh? You know, all 3 million people in a fucking giant space station. You know, we can't even pull that off in this international space station, and that's why we have convoys.
Well, then we don't have an agricultural
Well,
ring.
Pagan, I crunched the numbers myself, and I estimate that it will probably be within the next week. And
Moon,
unfortunately, too, me and the rest of the Dice Scum have had some of that lunar burger meat. So this is the last episode of Dice Scum, unfortunately. Sorry about that.
yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm losing brain cells rapidly because apparently the lunar soil, you know, the radioactive moon dust, it got into my bloodstream and it gave me multiple strokes. And now I just have a hankering for raw, bloody meat covered in grease and cheese called burrito.
Okay, so the common street foods are spring rolls, burritos, kapas, rice balls, bubble tea. Fuck you.
Fuck you on
Oh.
bubble tea, yeah.
Ramen
Salted
Spring
makes
rolls
cheese.
is fine. Burrito, no hot dogs. No, not even Korean style corn dogs, which are very popular.
Ramen so you can have it at the stand when you don't need to eat during a forklift.
Like burritos,
Protein
yeah,
bars are
fair.
somewhat
Kebab.
popular.
What type of kebab though? Doner kebab or shish kebab?
Builders are sick to death of that. In more recent years,
Rice
there's
balls. You mean onigiri?
been a rise in snack packs. A flimsy box of cultured meat strips. Well, you said that was a fucking. Ah, God, they're not consistent.
No, they're not.
Unless cultured meat's like 3D printed meat. Is that what they're talking about?
Well, okay, let me get into that. So, because we skipped it, most meat and dairy on Grand Cross is cultured, i.e., vat grown. The meat is made by growing tissue from
Okay.
cells, and the milk is produced with bacteria and genetically modified yeast in bioreactors.
Okay, so they're very angry that the Texas colony is a thing.
Also,
I'm starting to
aquaponics is
think
pretty big in space, apparently.
I'm starting to think that if Gundam was real, the Texas colony wouldn't have failed, and so many people would have wanted all that meat. Or was it retcon to say that it got destroyed somehow? I don't know.
What happened
Canon
is
Gundam is weird.
during the Battle of Loam. Okay, so this is Gundam stuff. Don't worry, it won't be too long. So there's this big battle called the Battle at Loam, Side 5, where Side 5 was basically destroyed because it was a full-on nuclear exchange between the Principality of Zeon, which used rocket-powered nuclear tactical bazookas on their mechs to fuck up the Earth Federation fleet. And because of collateral damage, most of the colonies were damaged to the point where not only did millions upon millions of people fucking die in this engage because of just damage, but several more would die from radiation exposure, vacuum of space, famine from evacuation, all that sort of shit. The only colony that actually survived somewhat functionally was Texas, was the Texas colony. And even then, its atmosphere, its climate control module was damaged, and it was rapidly going through essentially desertification. It was one of its agricultural rings. It was badly damaged, but was just functional enough that it served as a refugee point after the battle for a while. Eventually, some guy named Naku tricked the protagonist into going there to try to fight him with a giant robot with a sword.
Well, getting back. Well, okay, to get back onto it,
So,
going back to what it says.
They don't mention curry. They don't mention one of my favorite dishes to
Oh,
have
no,
after.
no. It's in the dash of capitalism. A strange curry meal made out of whatever the cook can get their hands on. Unnecessary meats and too much seasoning. The results usually look like something put into a video game as a joke, but some crossers have a taste for this stuff. God help them.
Is that a
Oh my
nod
God,
to
they're
Bola
being,
Brown?
and I think they're being racist towards culinary cultures around the world. He's basically
How
saying,
dare they insult the Thai people? Did you know their king can imprison you for it?
yes, because they're insulting curry. To be fair, too, I hate Indian curry too. I don't like it at all.
I love Indian curry. I love curry.
Yeah.
It's
All
amazing
right.
when you get some nice basmati rice to go with it.
We have holidays. We got the holidays of the Grand Cross on the next page. We
Oh,
celebrate
boy.
the major holidays
Was
like Lunar
interesting.
New Year's, Valentine's Day, Ramadan, Hanukkah, Passover, Easter, Halloween, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday.
But isn't Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur much
Yes.
more important?
There
That's
is no
yeah.
there is no Kwanzaa
No,
celebrated.
no.
in
Biggs,
Grand.
you're being
No.
anti-Semitic by not letting our MSID explain the actual important Jewish holidays.
So Hanukkah, despite its presence in a lot, I guess near Christmas, is a minor holiday.
Yeah, it's considered one of the lesser holidays.
Yeah, really it's Passover because that marks the Exodus from Egypt, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur because that's the beginning of the new year and the day of repentance. Those are extremely significant, and yeah, replace Hanukkah with. I mean, you could say high
Yom
holidays,
Kippur,
or if
the
you have the
high,
space,
just the high holidays, yeah.
Rosh
Are
Hashanah,
you
Yom
telling me we
Kippur.
let a dirty Jew into our? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, Shalom.
Oh no. All
Um,
right.
a note that's interesting with the Ramadan routine: people generally fast according to Mecca time or the time zone they were when they left Earth, which is actually some forethought into it.
It's the only one they have forethought into, probably. Foundation
I'm starting
Day.
to. I was just gonna say I'm realizing there's no Kwanzaa here. So even the black people of the future realized it was bullshit.
That's because almost no one celebrates it, yeah. Foundation Day, the date Grand Cross was officially opened. Officially, it's a public holiday to celebrate peace, freedom, and the orbital community. To most crossers, it's a day for street parties and having a cookout. Yeah, fair. Science Day. I fucking love Science Day.
To celebrate Charles Darwin. Isn't he a racist?
Uh, I don't know if he actually ever fully. He might be. I don't know. He's from the time period where it probably would be normal. He did use race originally in his theory of evolution, but he determined it, I think, as a type of like species or sub-delineation of species. Like the equivalent of subspecies. I don't remember. Or it's like below subspecies, but he did use race originally. Not to prove anything. I think it's just nomenclature at the time. I'd have to actually look into it, but either way, I fucking love Science Day, which is hilarious. Impact Day. A day for remembering Second Impact. Yeah, that's a public holiday, that'd be fair. Yuri's Night. A Grand Cross holiday celebrating the orbital life, humanity's determination to spread across the stars, and past astronauts. It's named for Yuri Gagarin. May Day, which that's
That would have been celebrated regardless.
yeah.
Though I like the little dig. It's the International Labor Day, celebrating with laborers and working class. Thanks to the latter, it's a public holiday. Which technically wouldn't that mean that laborers didn't start it? It was the working class. Which
Yeah.
language.
Pride Month, which is mainly used by corporations to get gay people to shill for them and serve as corpsec.
Independence Day, which is an excuse to riot.
Oh, is that what the? Oh, wow.
Oh no, not. It's Independence Day for the station, not the American Independence Day.
Wait, if they always have the celebration on that day, what's to stop them from just having all the blue helmets there just to beat the shit out of them and fucking throw them out of the space station forever?
They most likely do. They say they've been cracked down hard on it, turning it into a riot and guaranteeing
What's
it
to
gets
prevent them
bigger
from
every year.
just being fucking shoved back onto Earth?
Probably because that would actually then start a full-blown war.
Yeah, and then they'd all be dead if they're that fucking stupid.
And so would the station.
Start of Tanabata, the Star Festival. There's no way that's a major holiday, even if Japan colonized quite a bit.
It would be a holiday that's celebrated, but still.
Yeah, that should not be. This is just weeabooism.
Harvest Day.
Okay. Android Day. So again, Android lives don't matter. They only get a day rather than a month.
Which also, that would be right after
Thanksgiving.
American Thanksgiving.
Well, fuck Thanksgiving, right? Am I right?
Well, I mean, it's an American holiday, so.
Yeah. I still think Thanksgiving might see some popularity enough that maybe it might get transplanted a bit.
I mean, it's an excuse to have food.
Yeah.
That will always be a holiday.
People
Then
generally fast according to Mecha Time. Fair enough. Pretty much Earth 1, but on Grand Cross, it's heavily associated with watching old sci-fi movies. What?
It's,
Oh.
I think, Halloween.
The 2 wonderful days celebrating humanity's ability to consume product. You don't get to pretend that. Okay. Oh boy, this is going to. Oh, he hates the police so much. He had someone else write this. Look at
I
that.
would have loved to see what his notes were.
I'd love to see. How many pages is it just fuck police, fuck police, fuck police? Oh, fuck. Okay, here we go. They're going for good.
Uh-oh.
Oh, from Servant of Wrath. Pride Month's just such an annoying excuse for a holiday. Saying this as a, yep. Glad you're out and proud, man. Have fun actually fitting the tools together. I don't know. Law enforcement. The station security services are broadly universally reviled unless you're from the right parts of society. Oh, this is. do you think that she edited it down and this is his opinion? Oh boy.
I feel like you could have like such more interesting with like a government. Like they're making it sound like they're being left to their own devices when like you could easily have to say, yeah, this is the global homo security force.
You could, but that's remember, as if you're part of the progressive movement, you can't say corporation bad.
Or, yeah, they could have a corporate security.
That would have been good. Or alternatively, here's the thing you can do called nuance. See, you could have the police be internally divided between people who actually support the idea of independence, that are sympathetic to protests. Like in South America, this is a big thing, and this is actually why a lot of coup masters are kind of scared. There's always been police elements or stuff where they're sympathetic to causes. You know what I mean? So you could have entire districts actually trying to fight the good fight and do their job, and then you can just have the ones that are basically bought out and fucking employed by the corporations.
These retards can never do that tastefully.
Well, of course not. Nuance and showing bad guys not necessarily being pure bad guys bad. Unless you can fix them.
All right, so
SPS
so
structures.
they got to defend it. I'm actually surprised how much they wrote into this. It's actually very detailed.
Oh yeah, because the police bad.
It says loosely based on Japan's. Okay, if they're basing this entire thing on Japan's police, from what I
The
know,
Japanese police do not fuck around.
they don't fuck around.
I
and
highly
they
recommend. Wait, no, actually, let's just say when we get to crime, it's going to be amazing.
Japanese police don't fuck around. The only place that would be worse is if you were in Nigeria and you were dealing with their cybercrime division. Those fuckers will not only beat the shit out of you to near death, but then fucking demand money to prevent them from just finishing you off.
How is that different from any of their other police?
They were notorious for abducting people too.
Oh.
Like, they actually acted almost like a terrorist organization at points.
So I like the private security stations basically saying, oh yeah, all the rich people got private security station.
Yeah, this is a
I like
common
how
thing.
it's a little. I like how it's I love the social commentary going on.
Thoroughly corrupt and more akin to highly organized and uniformed gang that routinely use violence and terror to keep the heads of the common citizen down. No, they should just be walling it off and basically not causing trouble unless the rich guy pays them to cause trouble. Like here's the thing, CorpSec, their whole thing is protecting product, right? And occasionally maybe busting heads at protests. And maybe if a rich scion of like a corporation's like, hey, let's go dunk and style and profile on the dirty pores. Maybe have it be like that, where they have a bad reputation because occasionally some douchebag fucking trust fund kid brings them on to just cause trouble.
Or again, you could also think like with was that one group in
Or they occasionally disappear people who are too critiquing of the corporation.
No, I'm thinking of what was that group, the private military corporation in Iraq?
Blackwater?
Yeah, where, because yes, you have a private security force, they don't obey, like they don't have to necessarily follow the codes procedures that a government would have.
And then you have like rogue like loose guns that are just fucking nuts because they were kicked out of actual police or military. Yeah, there you go. You can have like, they're that weird mix of they try to impersonate police, like they're trying to, but they're kind of insane, so you don't. At any point, they might just respect my authority and pull out and start blasting. See, that's another thing that could be fun. Like they just okay. They're able to do this because the higher-ups play a careful PR game, keeping their best and brightest officers in places where the citizens have sufficient clout to actually do anything about them. Or maybe you just I don't know. To the elite crossers, these private security are a professional, upstanding force that occasionally gets its hand dirty to do the job. The effort and their ruthless tactics in poorer areas allow them to maintain a fragile status quo. So the private security is based on the Japanese police force. Huh. Okay. Grand Cross is still in flux, and the police are no exception. Many wards have a few extra ranks and honorary titles, blah, blah, blah. Private security contractor services. What happens when someone's too violent for the SPS, but for the police, but are obsessed with being in law enforcement? They're private contractors. Oh, I'm stupid. I thought the station police service were private security.
No, they're not going that.
I'm stupid. I'm sorry, guys. Man.
This whole thing is basically saying, oh yeah, even the police suck. So
I for some reason thought they were corporate security.
I was the one that said it would be better if they just outright said if it was that, but it's not.
You know what would actually be
Not bad at all.
a neat nod and actually a good critique? Is if they were the blue helmet, you know, the UN soldiers. Because the blue helmets get into a lot of trouble because of their conduct in peacekeeping operations. Like, you should see what they get on down to in Africa whenever they're brought in to resolve crises.
And
We
actually,
should probably we should go down to just crime because the rest of it's
Yeah.
just discussing how the
Yeah, private
how the
security,
fucking
they're even crazier. They're a dumping ground for the station's worst cops. In some parts of the city, they actually replace cops. There's station security, which have 8 divisions. All right. The Grand Cross Guard. You like how there's like 5 different police services, by the way? Like, to give you an idea, the U.S. only has like 3. Grand Cross is all the standard crimes. You know the story. Capitalist systems necessitate some level of unemployment to drive down. That's not why crime happens.
no, and
You
Chinese
the
actually
you disgusting asshole.
unemployment exists because people transition from jobs. You don't want 100%
remember, Adam,
employment.
the
That's
reason why
bad.
there's floors is because the Illuminati wants more people to be a thing.
Look. Here's the thing. There's always going to be some level of unemployment, right? A healthy amount is between 3 to 5% because that indicates people that are either incapable of entering the workforce due to, disability.
Or just keep just are on
The
drugs.
few that are too strung out and, just fucked up their life. And then there are those who are still looking and or just kind of in between positions. Anywhere between 3 to 5 is fine because of that. Pure 100% employment's bad because that means services start falling apart because they just don't have people to put in those spots. And on top of that, one of the main, while unemployment can be a cause for crime because people in desperation will do things to survive, a common one is they think they can get away with things. Like a person who works the cashier might occasionally pocket $5 from a service as long as it rings out equally on the other end, it's fine, right? Just use a coupon or two to make it so that the book balances out. That sort of mixture of temptation and just having a class 1 level morality where you're only afraid of getting punished and it's not that it's right or wrong. That's an element. Sometimes you're just young, dumb, and full of, that.
Yum.
Yes, full of yum. And you want to do something really badass for clout. Like, yo, guys, remember the 4chan bank robber? There was a dude who
Rob the
bragged.
bank.
There was a dude who bragged on. I think it was B, or it was one of the boards. He was bragging about going to rob a bank, like showing off, like here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm gonna do it. And then afterward, he actually showed off, like he successfully pulled it off. And because of his posting on there, combined with them getting footage of him on the TV, they were able to figure out where he was based on specific circumstances.
At least this wasn't when people started live streaming their murders
But yeah,
or
there's
their criminal
people. There
actions.
will be people who commit crime just for attention or because they're young and stupid. There are people who will do it because they think you can get away with it, or because it's easier, because they think it's easier than to actually go through the hoops. There are people who just do it out of desperation. It's not a pure capitalist thing. Some of the fucking most awful crimes happen under non-capitalist systems. And I don't mean crimes against the people. I mean, like, there's a reason the oil oligarchs of Russia became a thing. They were a thing before the Soviets collapsed. Criminality does not go away just because you remove the power of the almighty dollar. Crime was a thing since caveman. One of the first books of law was written in the fucking Bronze Age when capitalism as a concept wasn't even really a thing. Some guy named Hammon Rai described how you have to kill murderers because of what they've done. I'm sorry. That actually just that fucking annoys me. Where unemployment exists, an illegal economy will grow to serve the needs of those who aren't being supported by the real one, or it'll just grow because of natural malfeasance and corruption. Case in point, you can still be employed and be skimming money off the top, be it as a fucking cashier or as the regional manager of the largest chain of stores in the fucking colony, right?
I guarantee you this guy went to had to have gone to university, had to have gone to an economics course. How the fuck do you not know anything about the economy?
I don't know, man.
I it's politics. That's the only thing I can.
My focus on economics, I literally just went through some basic macro and micro classes. And some sociology, like the bare minimum. And this is stuff that you just pick up. The hottest crimes on the station right now are smuggling, cybercrime. What's your cybercrime? Pirating a copy of Space Cop? Space drugs. What's so different about space drugs to old drugs?
Made in space.
Do they grow weed on the moon? Does moon weed also exist alongside moon wheat? Did they ban moon weed? And it's just smuggling moon weed? Getting people into space used to be lucrative, but the business is slowly drying up as restrictions on official entry loosen. These days, a lot of
Oh,
the
wait.
people sneaking into Grand Cross are criminals escaping charges on Earth. Okay.
So, but that wasn't just smuggling. I thought that was product. No, they're talking about human trafficking.
Oh. Oh, Lord. You know, smuggling, when most people think of that, here would be an example of smuggling, right? We know that protein products, beef, chicken, poultry, fish, not as much, but you know that the beef market is quite expensive on this place, right? So a good example might be you're smuggling in a couple tons of just Angus steak from Earth, right? From the deep regions of Brazil. And it's chartered as something else so that you can then sell it on the so you can sell it in the back deals to a variety of stores to make a profit you wouldn't otherwise make. That would be an example of smuggling. You're smuggling in beef because you can sell it to undercut the actual price of beef, but still make a big fucking killing because of it, because you got it from a cheaper source, in this case, Brazil. Or Argentina, actually, would be more fair because Argentina has a larger industry. Another example of smuggling would be, again, the moonweed. you sell your ganja, which would also count as drug trafficking. You sell your ganja because the station bans it. Or in this case, space drugs. This would be making like your doping drugs, just like a meth lab in space. I'm just struggling to whatever. I don't think he knows what a smuggler does.
He might think it's Han Solo.
Yeah, but Han Solo smuggled drugs, at least in the EU, before they fucking got rid of that. No, seriously, if you're wondering, Han Solo's big thing was he smuggled spice, which was a type of drug.
I'm surprised they didn't make a reference to when they were referring to the spice in the food section.
Well, you see, that'd be something Derek DeShaw would do. Organized crime on Grand Cross is complicated. There are offshoots of Earth syndicates, new orbital ones, and a myriad of smaller gangs, all competing for territory. Oh yeah, the organized crime on the city would be very interesting because you'd have every mafia in the world essentially having at least a small outfit on there.
I'm imagining, considering this is, they probably would have done this in the point. I'm just thinking Sopranos in space.
I'm thinking, no, you got the Grand Alliance, which is your Irish, Jewish, and Italian mob unifying together to fight the space version of the Blood and Crips organization. And then on top of that, you have robo gangers and cyber dope fiends that basically mutilate themselves for their machine god because they've gone full tech cultists.
Oh, Coyote says smoking tobacco would probably be a huge black market item.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would say smoking would be very much prohibited or frowned upon, and you have like a high consumption tax for it. So yeah, you could smuggle like 20 pounds of cigs. That you'd make a fucking killing probably. At least on Grand
See,
Cross.
says with the criminalization, it's not as bad as the infamous crime dens like early 90s Ranapur. And I looked it up. I thought that was a real thing. He's referencing manga.
Are you fucking
Black
kidding me?
Lagoon. That's what comes up when I search for it.
How are you not? You know you don't have the rights to it, right?
I mean, it's. I mean, it's just a name. He's not
It's just
saying.
as cringe as if he used Madripoor from fucking Old Man Wolverine. Like if they used Madripoor, I'd cringe just as bad.
So early.
Fucking
There's
terrible.
probably infamous as crime dens in the early 90s. Choose the Soviet Union, post-Soviet Russia.
Yeah.
You could have put that there.
Guns and Grand Cross. The people who make space stations are generally not fans of bringing weapons into them, no matter how thick the windows are. Maybe don't put so many fucking windows in space station. Guns in Grand Cross are tightly controlled with laws similar to Japan's and Hong Kong's. That just means you murder people with knives, dude. And then they'll
Or
be ruled
homemade
as
shotguns.
suicides. Yeah, and then they'll be ruled as suicides. Like that. Like that's literally how they hide their murder rate.
Uh, if you want to own one, you need a valid reason. Sports shooting, firearm collecting, I'm American doesn't count.
Fuck you.
Which is you need to take a class, written test, shooting test, mental health check, background check, follow-up checks every few years. Register your guns, keep them safe, no open carry.
I'm actually okay with a mental health and background check to give you an idea when it comes to firearms control.
And especially in a case like this.
Like, well,
Yeah.
not yeah, like even in the U.S., like I am of the mind that I should legally be allowed to own an automatic weapon, like full fucking auto AR-15 or an M16 or an AK, right? But I'm also of the opinion that you have to have a clean mental health check, a background check, and you have to have successfully tested to figure out how to make sure that no fucking other person can get your gun. Like, do you have a space for said gun so that people can't open it your safe and grab it and do stuff with it? Do you know the basics, like not putting bullets in the chamber
If
and
the
keeping them stored?
police have evidence that you're breaking these rules, they can raid you. Would that technically mean there's no American-style Fourth Amendment?
Of course not. Hail the nightmare.
That's right.
Hail the nightmare. Remember, he's
Uh,
Australian. He probably thinks it's a
oh, that's
backwards
right. Yeah,
concept.
I'm surprised they even had guns
Guilty
then.
until innocent. Oh, Australia had guns. Canada does too.
Had.
Yeah, all their strong people died in war.
Police get class batons, tasers, anything above a handgun's a huge deal. Except the cartel have given guns. So,
Because,
just
gun bad.
oh wait, hold on. Cartel decides it's a profitable market, so they're selling it to the companies that they then pay.
Yeah, they sell it to their private security corporations, it looks like.
Where's the net profit?
Stupidity.
Because you're paying them for security, they're paying you for the guns.
I'm sorry, Pagan Pilot. I know that this guy decided to ruin your day. It's very unfortunate. They also have ballistic vests, but it's mostly to prevent stabbings and to look cool. You know it also does the same fucking thing? Kevlar. Kevlar does the same fucking thing. Oh, God. Alright, here we go. New humanity. Moving to space hasn't just changed how people lived, it challenges their perception what it means to be human. So, cybernetics is a thing that just exists now. Practically any part of the body can be replaced with mechanical prosthetics, except the brain, and they're still working on that. I'm now imagining, didn't they put like a brain chip into an ape and it went insane?
Was that Elon Musk's thing or?
Yeah, that was Elon Musk's dopamine brain thingy he put into the ape and it went nuts.
And interesting. I believe earlier they said there's no There's nothing like cyberpsychosis or anything like that. If I remember correctly. They then have now cyberpsychosis or cyberneurosis.
I was gonna say, if I remember correctly, I believe some man-to-machine interfaces have a small little hiccup sometimes that cause lock-in syndrome, where because you were using your brain to focus on a machine, it just forgets how to function, and now you're a vegetable.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So the
This is an actual
cybernetic
thing.
worker.
And was it called locked-in syndrome? Let me look.
Locked-in
Real
syndrome, by the
quick.
way, is a nightmare.
Oh yes, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a genuine fucking nightmare, too. These days, every school kid knows about the first procedure that replaced a healthy human organ with a biomechanical upgrade. You mean the mechanical heart? Because I think we've actually made artificial hearts that actually work. Oh wait, no. The very first artificial thing would probably be artificial teeth, like dentures. I mean, teeth are organs. If you're being really persnickety, do you think they count bones as organs? Because that would include things like hip and knee replacements. Brave New Era of redefining the human condition. They neglect to mention she got them for a job, or their employer let her go when they malfunctioned, and she didn't own the footage recorded by her own eyes, or that she took her own life because corporation's bad. Today, even today, many augmentations are reactionary. They're installed to make people better at their job or to get injured employees back to work. Main concern is not the user or their needs, but their value to the employer. The employer. I mean, wouldn't it be simpler just to kick them off cheaper to kick them off the station and to just fucking get a new person from Earth?
Although, thinking about it, maybe they have really stringent labor policies
On
for
top
some
of that,
reason.
yeah, I mean, you have to bring them up from space. Yeah, I can see it because that's millions of dollars to go up in space. I can see it. There's a logic there, but they didn't add that explanation, which I think would have helped. Cybernetics always lasts longer than the work. If you're dismissed, retire, or want to change career, you're stuck with cyberware designed for a job you no longer have and the costs. Many companies used to encourage Valley employees to augment themselves for a competitive edge, so there's a lot of cyborgs that have gotten screwed over by their bosses. Don't even think it was even a pacemaker. I think the iron lung was first because the pacemaker is a smaller thing. But yeah, you're right. That's the first organ thing because what it does is it replaces. There's a section of your heart that basically sets the rhythm. When that goes fucky, you put the pacemaker in. Also, the iron lung does replace the usage of lung. Well, it forces the diaphragm to expand and contract. So yeah. New trend is on the rise. People getting cybernetics just because they want to. Small cosmetic upgrades like glowing patterns in skin or horrible fake cat ears are still expensive, but within the reach of regular folks.
Why?
Didn't they make them like so you can just take them because though, and they
Oh,
don't
yeah,
cause
but
any financial burden? Didn't they do that? Or am I smoking crack?
why outside of people that are on the internet 24/7 would want to get fake cat ears?
In recent years, the non-corporate subcultures of cyborgs have risen to reject reactionary cybernetics in favor of people augmenting simply to better themselves. However they define that. The subculture is often criticized for its economic exclusivity, as cybernetics are still too pricey for the working class, but they've normalized cosmetic augmentation in the public imagination. I doubt that, because people actually make fun of people for getting addicted to plastic surgery. Like, that's still a thing. People get made fun of if they regularly abuse it.
On the other hand, I think people, or at least me, would appreciate it more if people were having robot arms, you know, machine eyes, whatever, than introducing plastic surgery into people so they look like misshapen monstrosities.
Or installed fucking cat ears.
Or a big fat dong.
Cosmetic augs are free. Oh, no, I'm right. So it's expensive, but they are free. Mechanically free, but in lore not. What a fucking joke. Thanks, Pagan. I thought I was right, but I had to be sure. Because the
Mike
writing's so
Pondsmith would
bad.
like a word with you.
Minds and machine. Though people can get entirely prosthetic bodies in the distant future of 2020, the mind is trickier. There's no current way to completely digitize a human mind, make a copy of one, or replace most of the brain with cyberware. Advances in AI research are slowly feeding back into cyber brains. Wait, then how do androids exist?
You fucking fool! You don't want the Soul Killer program.
No, here's my problem. They have androids already. So what the fuck are they on? Are they the Dragon Ball Z androids where they're actually cyborgs? Is that where we're going with?
I could see them fucking up that badly, admittedly.
All right, so cyber neurosis is a thing, but basically the book's a coward and doesn't actually have mechanics for it. It's just there in case, you have the courage to deal with it. Body mods and identity. Cyberpunk without radical disregard for present-day gender norms and expectations on what is presentable isn't cyberpunk. No, cyberpunk is about the loss of your humanity to the nightmare world that you're currently in, but okay. We're not only constrained by what science is presently capable of, but also what polite society is comfortable with. Cyberpunk gets to throw those expectations out of the window and sell as they sell your soul to corporate. A wage slave in their...
Wage.
Oh, fucking hell.
Want me to take this?
Yeah.
A wage slave in their nice suit and jean mods is going to look down on you for having neo-glowing veins and horns made of carbon fiber coming out of your hand. But wage slaves work for the enemy.
Fuck you.
Yes, that's the point. If you look unkempt, if you don't look like you take care of yourself, people are going to look down on you.
Remember, everybody, if there's somebody working for a faction that's against you, they're inhuman and you can kill them because they are going directly against what you believe. Make sure they do not procreate and kill their children as well.
Also,
Said by the
those
person with
veins, that means that you're like every part of your body is glowing in an ominous way. Like that's noticeable. That will make people look at you like, what the fuck?
it's also inhuman.
Yeah? Oh, and you also have devil horns. Yeah, people are gonna look like they do that already when like there's a reason places actually usually won't hire you if you're stupid enough to tattoo your face. Like they don't give too much of a shit if you ink your body as long as it's hidden. So let's say for example you get the stupid cat ears, right? I think it'd be fine as long as you can detach them. Yeah, as a thing. Like you probably wouldn't get in trouble about that. Anyway, how could we take your concern seriously when all you do is look like sideshow attractions they might want? Well, yeah. Their opinion should mean much as corporate diversity and understanding should, even though you desperately use corporations to justify yourself. That's the problem I have with this mindset. They're trying to pretend they're anti-corporate when they're the biggest shills of them of all. They fucking happily wallow like pigs in shit as corpsec. Trans and disabled bodies have led the real-life charge into the field of body modification for decades. We get metal drilled into our bones, our skulls broken with hammers, and then put back together to better fit our own self-image. That's not how that works, but okay. Our relationships with our bodies are different from that of blah, 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 activists garbage. All that goes into overdrive. Back alley surgeons offer hosts of procedures while the corporations aren't going to hire if you look like a street cyborg. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I don't have a high opinion of this writer because they're almost certainly going to play corporate defense for garbage made in Hollywood, Like, corporations bad until I can profit off of them. All it goes in overdrive, blah. Corporations shouldn't be the only ones interacting with this stuff. The people in your game should be modding their decade-old leg replacement so they don't have to buy a new one. DIY scene for body modification should have competitions for building their own stuff. With what mechanics, you fucking idiot? I mean, they do have the augments, but like they're not as limited, and you have to make up new ones. You have to get together and homebrew shit. Because they do have an okay selection. It's just there's not enough. I don't know. Peddler syndrome. People with peddlers are incapable of receiving cybernetics. The immunosuppressant treatments Usually given to cyborgs just don't take. It's a rare inheritable condition that's only recently gained wider recognition. Discovering their corrective augmentations don't work. So some people just can't take cybernetics. Cybernetics and the disabled. The disabled were early adopters of a wide variety of cybernetics, ranging from wheelchairs to cochlear implants. By the way, cochlear implants are derived as Satan by some deaf communities. Keep that in mind. Fucking ableist bigot. How dare you try to erase deaf culture?
Dare you want to use one of your 5 senses?
The need for highly personalized assistive devices led to a lot of cybernetic development, which exploded as more. While there's a small but vocal minority of people, mostly able-bodied allies, protested that extensive cybernetic augmentation would erase disability. They're not. No, it's the actual fucking disabled people, at least in the deaf community. I agree with this guy though. Like Mids is completely right. It's fucking stupid. See, you like how the person's point of view here is actually the smaller one, the one that actually has coherence, and then this one's just tranny trying to justify why cyberpunk should allow you to be like super accepting, even though the whole point is everyone fucking hates you and your humanity, and that's the big thing is your humanity is what gets lost under the grime of corporate and augmented slop. By the way, you
It's
know,
like this person.
Hmm?
I was just about to say, it's like this person saw Cyberpunk and didn't understand jack fucking shit.
Well, what happened is they played Eclipse Phase, which actually allows you to do complete transhumanist stuff. Do you want to play a depressed dolphin comedian that uses a minigun? Yeah, you can totally fucking do it. Do you want to play a hive mind of nanobite spiders in an astronaut suit that fucking works as a consultant for website design? Sure, you can do that in Eclipse Phase. Do you want to play the augment like Khan Noonien Singh or a new type? Sure, go right the fuck ahead. It's Eclipse Phase, motherfucker. Like that's the more kind of optimistic take on it.
Actually, funny. The reason why they do that, why there's all that weird technological shit, is to escape the fact that technology had destroyed the planet Earth. And
Yeah.
that there's AI humans have created that almost destroyed humanity and then disappeared, and we have no idea if they're coming back or not.
Yep.
So it's all to escape existential dread.
Ah, yes, androids. Here we go. One of the greatest achievements of the post-impact research boom was the creation of androids, fully sapient automatic intelligence in a mechanical human-like body. Are a form of artificial general intelligence, self-aware AI, emergent systems. Were designed by humans and taught like humans, so they think like humans too. In fact, they're so similar. AGIs refer to install themselves in android bodies. Upbringing is a little different. Accelerated early development. Wait, so if they're able to perfectly create a human thinking android mind, why the fuck can't they just create a, what is it, an engram in the Soul Killer? You get what I mean on how this is stupid? See, in Cyberpunk, they kind of hint at some of them kind of hint at the concept of the soul being a thing. And that's why you can't perfectly emulate the human, human spirit and human nature. Because there's just something that always is a little bit missing, or they can't just quite get it right. But this person just kind of refuted the fact that they can't just make a fucking robot brain, What's to say you can't make a robotic duplicate of a dude? Now, admittedly, you can't transfer that consciousness, but I don't know. It's just
I'm pretty sure our brains are all fucking fried, and though it's been like 3 hours, you think we should find a wrap it up point? This is fucking
when
Finish
we
up
get
the Android section.
let's finish
Got,
off
like,
this chapter.
a few pages.
Oh fuck me. How long is this chapter?
And like 20 more pages to go.
Yeah, let's not. Oh fuck. Let's
I would
not
just say
we
get
did.
to the androids, which is just the next 2 pages.
The android types. Yeah, we can get that far. Holy shit.
Oh,
Holy
to the
shit. So the creation of strong AI was a side effect of the research boom, magically speaking. As Earth's nations push cybernetic and computation research to meet their space needs, we actually can get into space with a fucking slide rule calculator and just basic trigonometry, right? the first space launches were literally done with electromechanical devices less complex than our current fucking calculator you could buy at the Dollar Tree. So here's my question: Why do we need these cybernetic? Is it to save human lives? Is that why?
They explained it. It's corporations.
Scientists realize some of the hardware and software they're creating display properties that could be useful in AI research. A few years setbacks and dead eyes. The true AI multivac was created in a lab in 2001.
Do you
Multivac
get
was.
that?
Hmm?
You get the multivac?
What's the stupid pun?
No. Asimov.
Oh.
Is this
Oh God, I didn't even
kind of?
think of that.
And then of course 2001.
Yeah, of course, asshole. Um, you like how they just are able to invest all this money into building computerization and cybernetics, even though we were already accelerating quite a bit. You know what maybe actually would allow you to get away with this? If you can miniaturize computers to the point where you can use quantum processing. If you can shrink devices that badly that you can literally rely on quantum mechanics. That might allow you to get some stuff done. But they don't really explain it because, God forbid you actually explain where your robots came from. That's when new interest stepped in. Once multivax creation was understood, it became repeatable. New AGI code lines were generated, allowing governments and corporations to crank out their own androids. Why they would do this? Fuck if I know. I guess for services. In the early years, androids didn't have the same rights as humans. Most governments are slow to grant them, officially due to disbelief they were truly alive, but unofficially due to lobbying, the ongoing stalemate over androids' rights. Cheap labor, even though it would cost more to actually build a fucking android than it would be just to train a human. That's kind of the problem with robotization like that. Yeah, an android can do the tasks more efficiently and quickly, right? But it's a lot fucking cheaper. Like massively fucking cheaper. Human. Even with all the wages you have to pay them.
Like how people say, like, if you could know when you die, would you want to die? And like people would say no. If you could become a cyborg, would you want to become a cyborg? Is the question. Do you think it's in that kind of like league? Do you think like there's just like a lot of people that wouldn't want to be, that wouldn't want to chop their fucking arm off for that robo arm to be superior?
It depends on if I still have a sense of touch afterwards. You get what I mean? At least for me personally.
Yeah. Well, that's
I mean,
you personally, but now that I've been thinking about it, I guess there really would be a minority of weirdos that would want to go full Borg as possible, aka see the
Full Borg,
Mechanicus.
no. But you know what I wouldn't mind replacing? My heart.
Oh,
Not my
I take
emotional heart, my actual like blood heart. Be like Jean-Luc Picard with my mechanical heart.
the super strength I could get.
and lament how you want to deport fucking war refugees. Like what the fuck was they referencing about
I
that?
think
Something
that's a
about like
shitty.
Picard not like
Oh wait, no, that's before Picard came out. Actually, was 2020 before it came out?
something
Because in
about
Star Trek
yeah. This
Picard,
is
there's an
like
entire arc where Picard's like, "No, we gotta accept the Romulan refugees from the exploded Empire."
they were saying something about the Borg. Was there like an episode of like the Borg attacked the colony? And Picard's like, okay, you got to get the fuck out of here.
That's like one of the first episodes where they find out a colony went missing and Q fucks with them.
I know there's
Q's
one
like, "Let me
fucking.
show you what you're going to face, assholes."
I know there's one episode of Star Trek where they kick Indians off their space planet.
Yeah, that was
They kick them
that
off
was in
the.
response to a peace treaty they made with the Cardassians.
Oh no.
They made a treaty with the Cardassians, which were literally based on Nazi Germany. And they had to kick the native inhabitants of the planet off for the treaty. And Wesley Crusher actually was trying to prevent it, and Picard fucking shut it down. It was glorious. In the early years, androids, blah blah blah. Luckily, a lot of people thought that creating intelligent life and then exploiting it was kind of weird. You're gonna describe it that way, okay? Within a few years, governments began passing laws and amendments granting androids the same rights as humans.
Countries with stronger unions did it faster. It's
No,
hard to
it
abuse
would be the
androids for
opposite.
labor when the rest of your workforce keeps going on strike. Yeah, unions would massively want to ensure, unless the AI were actually in the union.
Well, I see what the logic is, but the problem is when those countries refuse to actually allow androids to be built.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they just crash the company that tries to hire them no survivors by just refusing to work completely? Like, wouldn't those countries like I get it, but I think they wouldn't have androids. At least their efforts to buy them would be limited.
It would be a very complex subject where there would probably be like a mixture of both of what you're thinking. I would want to say.
They don't have full freedom yet, and even the places where they have rights don't always act like it. When the UN worked equal rights for, you see, the thing is, androids in this case are kind of like an allegory, but the allegory is being done wrong because they also have the actual problems that the allegory is for. Like there's a Star Trek episode which tried to actually denigrate the concept of racism just from the perception of human skin with the black and white aliens, where because they had the patterns on opposite sides, they were destined to hate each other to the point where they destroyed their own species over it. Like that's an allegory for a real life problem, and it's a compelling story that doesn't hit you over the head, you know? Androids in this case probably should be the allegory for whatever, but then they also include the whole crying about gay rights thing, even though marriage has been legal here for decades, well over a decade.
It's the X-Men being a stand-in for civil rights problem.
Can I go to bed now?
We're almost fucking done. We're almost
Help!
fucking done.
Viewer, please help! I'm currently located in a North Korean prison. Please send a bomb and kill me and let this be over with.
The 10 faces of AI. Science is a complex beast. Here's the 10 faces of AI.
Android rights issues.
Yeah, we're gonna skip. They're just 10 people they made up. Fuck
Let's
that.
see. Android rights issues. Reproduction. They can't make new androids the way humans do.
Wait, no,
Corporations
no,
on the
Biggs. Here's something horrible. They invented the oh god, what's the name of the little fucking orb things from Gundam?
Haro?
Haros. They made Haro bootlegs.
I always wanted a Haro so I could pick him up and throw him at somebody in the fucking face.
Also, they named one of the fucking roboticists after I think after the Ghost in the Shell thing. Fucking hell, man. Okay, Android rights issues. On papers, androids have the same rights as humans. In practice, there's many problems. Still think of androids as machines, not people. That's because they're literally built in a fucking factory. It is a demonstrated fact. Yes, they are people intellectually speaking, but it's kind of the same way. Like, you know how a company is defined as a person, but in reality, it's not. Mechanically speaking, it's an organization. It's just for legal purposes. It's treated as a person because it has responsibilities and guilt. The capacity for causing problems that allows it to be sued. Also, it's designed as a way to escape getting fucking sued yourself as the CEO. What was I on about? A lot of Android laws, even the good ones, think about them in terms of their potential impact on the economy instead of thinking as people. First big one's reproduction. They can't make new androids the same way people make new humans. Instead, they're compiled blah blah blah. They're owned by corporations and
the intersection. To be clear, androids do not face the same problems as any other social group. Or are they meant to be a stand-in for those groups? The way they interact with the power of modern structures.
Weren't you trying to make this a fucking trans allegory, you fucking idiot?
No, because they have the
No,
trannies in there for that allegory.
They actually literally say it. But they
I could
also
have sworn we were talking about Android rights like a while back. I swear to God.
you see androids in Harbor Island are a metaphor for Australians. Now we know the guy's Australian. That makes sense. At least that makes sense why he put it in there. But he says the basic experience of being an android can be changed by the other groups as an android identifies or presents as. Even though they don't have the same exact problems, an android's gender identity, nationality, religion can create issues that other androids lack.
Okay, so
So
it's a way to so in reality, this is just a way to make your character feel more oppressed. This is to make yourself even more oppressed than your garden variety transsexual or your garden variety minority in another country or religious minority. It's a way to claim both that and the double oppression points so that you can get off on being whipped and that weird fucked up crybolly masochism that exists.
Look away. Look away.
There's a whip.
saying
There's a way.
it's also worth noting that people who hold anti-android views are often using them as a stepping stone for something else. The same way
Like
that
what?
I don't Luddites?
In the same way, anti-transgender groups in real life are often backed by right-wing groups using it as a wedge to undermine gay and women rights. It's because their rights are very intrinsically different, asshole. Like the problems faced
I,
by them
Oh
are
no, wait, no. It says prominent anti-android groups are really attacking workers' rights.
fucking hell.
So androids are
you know, I'm just gonna outright say it. The day when we get androids is gonna be the fucking day we're gonna have an existential fucking crisis.
Oh, the day we get androids is the day that everything goes to shit. Yeah.
I cannot stress hard enough that fucking Mike Ponce wants a word with you. And when I mean a word, he has a goddamn baseball bat and a burlap sack. Which is also tiresome.
it's really hard to have an allegory for something that
Oh
we've never
fuck.
experienced before. But I guess moving on
No, let's just finish off the android types.
yeah.
Also, look at
Orbiform.
this. Look at this anime ripoff garbage right here. That actually have actual fucking retraces of actual anime characters and people just that this guy liked. I'm seeing at least 2 anime waifus that he probably, you know. Anyway, orbiforms are basically Haros, whatever. Laborers are the robotic dudes that look like the Daft Punk. Oh,
Lilim
here's
are
yeah, this one's fun.
the sex bots. The skin color of most corporate Lilim models ranges from white to bone white for reasons their corporate creators pretend not to know when asked. So you're telling me that there's no market for BBW?
You don't get to say this retarded shit when in reality you defend when you watch crap that's made by corporations that do the same thing. Like Disney, hey, remember when they made a point to hide Black Panther's face on the Chinese poster? Remember when they got rid of Finn on the poster? Remember when they when they thanked the community to handle the Uyghur people? God, I'm having a brain aneurysm.
Can
Then
I go
Adam.
home now?
Thank God. Yeah, the atom is
Please?
the same basic fucking thing, basically. It's
Also interesting they put Lilim and Adam.
yeah, they're just being pathetic.
They're trying to be
I
trying
got
to
it. It's like
be
Vampire the Masquerade, right? Yeah, that's
They're trying to be
remember the
cute,
fuck.
but it's not
yeah.
working. Ah,
They only
shit.
It, you fucking bigot. It's not Adam and Lilith. It's Adam and Steve. You faggot.
There you are, Biggs. I couldn't find your token for a bit. Anyway, that was some strong, deep hurting.
we're not even done.
Yeah,
So before we go home, would anybody like to say anything in the chat so I can thoroughly talk about it and then consider suicide. Please, I need some stimulation besides this fucking bug.
Well, in Minecraft, see, we experienced existential horror.
God. We did. Is this what cyberpsychosis feels like?
I think this is what realizing that it's all downhill from here is like.
It wasn't already?
No, because we still have to deal with the movers and shakers of this shithole.
which means the characters.
Yeah, we have to deal with characters, probably more fucking current issues like housing, fucking refugees, fucking robot. Oh god, there's so much more that we have to look at.
Don't forget the Jewish robot.
Ay vey,
That's it.
you're right.
There's a robot that says it was born Jewish.
I fucking. Well,
I want to know how to do its bris.
I'm just envisioning. Did they just remove the the socket with the the 3-prong socket? Did they just remove the grounding lead? Is that how they do with Briss?
Yes.
Laham! Fucking Christ. Oh God. So are we gonna do this book next week, or are we gonna look at something else?
Help!
That's a vote for something else. Oh man, this when it gets into its lore, this is where the book is clearly at its worst, if you can't tell. So
I think the one thing, strangely enough, the weirdest thing I'm still having like weird thoughts on is just that whole cute tongue-in-cheek unity and union fucking like political allegory.
you know the writer felt so smart when they made that. You know they felt like a fucking genius when they did that.
But we caught you.
Is it really catching it if they were hoping you would and feeling smug? Like, yeah, you understand the problem, man. Said the Australian.
I do agree, my fellow Australian. I believe the right-wing despots need to rise up in this Union Station and take it over for the glory of Xeon,
I
the
hope to
glory and restoration.
I hope to fuck. I hope to fuck he tries to criticize U.S. immigration laws. Because reminder, Australia is the country that sank a fucking refugee ship and let the Malaysians on it die.
Oh God.
I hope. I fucking hope he does.
Oh no, there's
What's
definitely
that one
worse.
country that Australia enslaved? What was that?
Papua
Like,
New
that's right next to them?
Guinea.
I think so.
There's more books for Hardwired Island than just this,
What?
including scenarios such as,
Oh.
and I quote, a cat cafe worker dealing with a crypto guy whose schemes are affecting their robo-cats.
Oh. So, what are we gonna do next week? Because I don't think I can take another week straight in a row of this. Is it time to bust out Cadillacs and dinosaurs? Is it time to do that? Is it time to bust out Giant Monster Attack?
I would have thought to do the good version of this, actually bring out Eclipse Phase.
I have a copy of Eclipse Phase. I can always look at that.
Something good. That's all I ask. Before I commit suicide, y'all, don't forget to check out our Discord server. It's very small, tight knit, and it has a great sense of community.
It does. Also, feel free to like and subscribe and whatever. I know that's a thing that people ask for. Might as well do it. I'm dead inside if I'm asking for that. Infernum. What is Infernum? Let me look it up.
I'm getting a movie and a Polish metal band.
I mean, I wouldn't mind watching a movie called Infernum. Now let me
I wouldn't mind
look
going
up.
to the Infernum.
Let me look up the Infernum game. Infernum, Book of the Damned. All right. You're in hell. So it's a book where you fight in the war for hell. It looks like.
Wait a minute, we can already play this game, Adam. It's called Avenger Santanas.
I mean, yeah, Chalt's basically hell. Let's be fair. There's also Empire Satanist, which we did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to refer to.
Although that does mean I can probably pull out Black Crusade or something. We haven't done a lot of the books by the dreaded Jadubba.
You mean the good version of Warhammer
Yeah, the
before it
ones where they
died.
fly with flights of fancy and fantasy before they were killed.
Or we could do the Forge World Black books. No, red books. The red. That's the Horse Heresy books.
We have options. Thank God. We're not doing this next week. I'll hold a snap poll on the Discord. Before I forget, I will actually hold it where we will suggest a vote, so feel free to sign on to it. It's a permanent link at the bottom of the description. Have a good night. It's 3 hours long, and I have only 5 brain cells left. Help.